Good evening, ladies and gents, and a massive welcome from myself, Greg Maloney, the voice of choice, and my good friend Sasha Martinengo for the semi-finals of the Seagate Solidarity E-Race. Sash, how's this? We've got through a week of absolute hell at the Green Hell.
I tell you, it has been spectacular, and a very, very good evening wherever you are watching us from, whatever corner of the planet. Welcome. It is our version 3 of Solidarity E-Race. We've got 2 sets of semi-finals this evening, Greg, and it's all about points. This is what's been fascinating about this version of our Solidarity E-Race. So tonight, the guys, you might not win, but if you sort of come in second and third, Greg, you want to try and get into that top 20.
Yes, indeed. The idea is to get as many points as you can behind your name tonight in both of the heats. One is in a Porsche 918 Spider, one is in a Zonda R. Very, very powerful motor cars, and of course the hypercars around this track. We saw this afternoon in all the practice sessions, and the banter that was happening on our WhatsApp group was basically saying that they are getting into times that a lot of these guys didn't think they would get into. So I think we're going to be in for a little bit more fun and games. Last night was absolute chaos with those Audis. Now you throw a little bit extra horsepower and the same ability of these drivers, I think we're going to be in for an absolutely epic evening.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the caliber of vehicles, if we look at when we started this on Thursday evening, we had a 1967 Alfa Romeo 33 Stradale. Last night, we had the magnificent Audi E2 rally car out on the circuit. And then, of course, tonight, we have got the 918. I mean, just one of the most brilliant hypercars ever made. And perhaps maybe one of the best sounding race cars ever made, the Zonda R. So I think our contestants and our 60 drivers are desperately keen to get out there and show their muscle.
And our fans and everybody that's watching worldwide. I mean, we've literally tapping into people all over the world to bring this kind of entertainment to them, Sash. So I think they're going to be pretty excited. Before we get into that, though, of course, we always have to say a massive thank you to Seagate Gaming and to all our associate sponsors, NEC, Pure Storage, Data Sciences, AfriHost. And tonight, a little special thank you to the guys from True Race. And to Vanna Hinop and his team, here's a little insert on what they get up to. To True Race and Vanna Hinop and his team for their involvement here and the involvement over the last 2 events as well. So it's fantastic to keep sponsors and to retain them is also quite important. And in order to do that, of course, we've got to give them that kind of coverage.
Yeah, listen, I mean, without a doubt, we wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for our wonderful sponsors who have been on board with us and those who have come and joined after seeing what kind of action we've delivered. So wonderful to have all of our sponsors on board and equally wonderful to have so many of our drivers, Greg, who, have returned event after event, trying their best out there to get to the top step.
Love it. And there's more coming because as we've been speaking overnight and what's happened over the last couple of days with everything that's happened in the quarterfinals and now leading to the semifinals, there has been nonstop. I got put onto the group today and I also got put onto Solidarity E-Race's Facebook page as an editor this afternoon. And I can tell you that it's just nonstop messages coming through from people wanting to get involved, people looking to find out what this is all about and how they can get involved. It's fantastic. And I think that's what we've looked to do, create something completely unique, something completely different to the usual way of doing things in esport. And we've engaged with all of the parties that are behind the successful leagues and the successful events that happen continuously here in South Africa.
Yeah, and of course, we all got to try and complement each other and work together and learn about the different aspects of the whole esports world. And I must just tell you, Greg, my son phoned me about 5 minutes before we went on air, and he was like, "Hey, Dad, where did you get that racing seat from, man?" Because he's in the UK now. And the worst thing is, so he's got the Xbox and the PlayStation over that side, and now I've got the racing seat over here on this side. So it was very, very funny. Lots of people noticing lots of little quirky aspects of our broadcast as well. So it's wonderful to have everybody along.
Well, remember those race rigs, we've got one to give away to the plate final winner, and we've got one to give away to our fans and viewers and people that'll be involved in the lucky draw. So if you want to win a G4 Sim rig, it doesn't come with the pedals and the clutch and all the bits and pieces that go with it. It's just the rig and the seat. Then you definitely need to be getting onto our page and watching what we're doing tonight, watching what we're doing tomorrow, and listening to who's going to win that rig from the plate finals point of view. And then we're running that competition for another week, Sash. So we're going to try and create as much leverage as we can for G4 Sim to try and get a little bit more interaction on their page over the posts that were put out over the week. So I think we're going to be in for a great outing with those guys, and hopefully they'll stick around for a long, long time. Other guys that happened and stuck around are pretty exciting times overnight too, Sash, with what happened with the commentator search.
Yes. Yeah. Greg, sorry, man. It's just been fantastic, the amount of different entries that we've got. Also, the enthusiasm, the excitement, the nervous energy that people come across in delivering their commentary. But just terrific that there are people out there who are excited and want to do this as well. And, hopefully we give them this platform to show their talents.
Well, that's exactly what we've done. We actually had 8 entries. The one came in a little bit too late and was just too late for the entry, so we couldn't get the 8th one in. But we had 7 entries that we had to go through. The judging panel has now gone and looked at what they did in terms of the requirements, and that was, of course, to download the video that I had voiced, use that clean version, and put a version that they have created themselves onto their own platform, and then share it onto ours. And then what we did is we looked at all the interaction and engagement that happened on the social media platforms, and then also went to our judging panel and said, right, there's the 7 guys we've got entered. Who do you think is going to be the best, and who do you think we should be putting into tonight's semi-finals with you and I?
Yeah, which I think is terrific. So, I mean, it's just so much fun to have somebody else coming in with us, Greg, on board, showcasing their talents, trying to be the best that they can. In a pretty high stressful situation, it's probably a bigger audience than they've had before. Plus it's semi-final time, and you want to try and make as few mistakes as possible, just like the drivers.
Yeah, and exactly what we've said over the last couple of nights, Sash. It's all well and good to have a video in front of you that you can do a prepared voiceover on. It's not really a commentary; it's more of a prepared voiceover. And with that prepared voiceover, you have to entertain. You have to show some spirit. You have to show some kind of oomph in your voice so that people get excited, and then also know what you're talking about. And the 6 semi-finalists, I think, hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I must say it was very, very difficult to listen to them and actually put them in some kind of an order. I think every commentator anywhere around the world has their own style of delivery and their own quirks and their own way of delivering the product. So, well done to every single person who partook. And to those who are thinking about it, well, think about it harder for next time and make sure you get involved.
For sure. And I think we got some excited gentlemen just in the background with us as well. We're going to introduce them in a few minutes' time, just to give you an indication how it's going to work from tonight. Everybody that's watching tonight, and you watch every semi-final, we have allocated one of those 6 commentating semi-finalists to one of our semi-finals tonight. And basically that gentleman is going to join you and I for a bit of commentary for the 2 laps of action that's going to happen for semi-final 1, heat 1 to 3, and then another 3 gentlemen for semi-final 2, heat 1 to 3 later on in the evening. And while they're commentating on the Solidarity E-Race page, their own personal post will go out, which Solidarity E-Race has created, and that will be the post that people need to get onto, to like, to share, to comment on, and make sure that they get as much as they can, so that our jobs, and that's you and I, we don't have to worry about it, but the judging panel have got an easier job when they look at it and they go, well, this guy was good. He knew what he was talking about, and he got great engagement on social media. That's the guy we need as our commentator.
Yeah, listen, we know how difficult it is. These guys are nervous, sitting in the wings, getting ready to commentate, but I think equally excited. And of course, they know what to do in order to try and get their engagement. So, let them have their space on during the race as well. And hopefully they know how to promote themselves as well as also just enjoying the racing.
Indeed. Speaking of racing, I'm not quite sure if we've got cars on track yet, Brent. Can you find out for us and let us know? Let's go and have a look and see who's on track at the moment and see who's going to be entertaining us for the first part in these 918. First time we're going to see these 918s with delivery as well, Flash. It's great to see the Seagate green, the NEC blue, Pure Storage orange, Data Sciences white, AfriHost red, and the True Race purple. It's going to be phenomenal stuff here this evening. Whoa, and look at that. Already out of shape there for Genslen.
Well, that was what you call target following. Unfortunately, both of them went pirouetting at the same time. But magnificent vehicle, this, the 918 Porsche Spider. I mean, one of the true, the holy grail of the hypercars, together with the McLaren P1 and, of course, the LaFerrari. But, I mean, this is a normally aspirated 4.6 litre engine. It has got the two electric motors. It's 880 horsepower, Greg. I mean, this is a handful. Blake Kruger on my page has actually just come up and saying, man, did he struggle with this Porsche today. But looking forward to the race.
Yeah, coming up on the page as well, I've got to give a shout out to our good friend Tiny down in Cape Town. He shared a post this morning saying that somebody had stolen one of our Audis from the Nordschleife and threw it up a hill climb somewhere. And if you look at the livery that was on that hill climb car, it's exactly the same as the red one that we put up for AfriHost. It was unbelievably close. And I think it's really cool to see how, the different social media platforms are getting involved with what we're doing here in the Solidarity E-Race.
It's wonderful stuff. We were with Jason Absmine. He had a great quarterfinal 2 race yesterday. I mean, just listen to this Porsche. It is magnificent. I mean, just sticks to the road. This is all about mechanical grip and it's just all about getting your braking points right. From there, let the car do the rest and let those batteries get energized for the electric motors and utilize the full power that this car can deliver. It's also a very good evening. Matt Cocci all the way from Ireland and David Burberry. Nice to hear from you as well. So guys, thanks very much for your comments on our Facebook live stream.
Wayne Hedeman is there as well. So is Ricky Pitts and Andy Gossman's there. Bjorn Roos, of course, multiple karting champion in this country, and also a V8 driver himself. And the man behind RKT Karting, good to have him watching too. I think we're going to get more and more people to the track after last night's antics in the Audi and realize
the art of driving this is really be smooth and then fast.
Yeah, that's exactly it. 7:32 is coming out of Alton Bow in the Porsche. That's not a bad lap time. I saw Sash as well. Another interesting fact to bring into account is the 918 doing 7:32 with Alton Bow as our first sort of benchmark for the evening. Have a look at its little cousin, the 919 Hybrid. Fastest car ever to go around this circuit. And he, the pilot of that car, of course, was the Porsche factory driver and did it in a 5:19.545. That is hauling.
Yeah, no, that's a different level. That's for sure. I mean, that is properly tuned by Porsche, and of course, you got one of the top racing drivers in the world taking it around there, and with fearless, that's for sure. So a 6:58. Wow. That's where we are at the moment from Adrian Wood.
That's the guy.
And Greg, you know what? You know what's so amazing about that time? 6:58, yep. If you sit there and think, when this car was launched, this was the first ever production car to go around the Nordschleife under 7 minutes, and it did a 6:59. But, back when it was first launched. Now it's a lot quicker. But that's a stunning time from Adrian Wood.
And the cool thing about that, of course, is at that stage, it was the fastest going road car when it set that time. Currently, that has been passed over, of course, to the Cousins stable in Lamborghini with a 6:44.97. But there were a couple of guys this afternoon that were getting into close to those kind of time stats. So we could be in for a bit of a record breaker, unofficially, of course, here in this event. But it'll be absolutely amazing to see if these guys can get down to the same kind of times as those factory pilots do when they send the road cars and race cars around the Nordschleife. Also want to send a shout out there to Ann Tucker, who's just joined us from South Wales in the UK. Interested to see the battle for the commentary position as well. That's going to be cool. So we got fans of racing, we got fans of the commentators joining us too.
Well, listen, that's wonderful, and it's great that, hopefully all of the commentators have got their friends, family, long-lost cousins, people I haven't spoken to in years, and, to get involved. And we're just looking, there we go, coming up on the screen, Jason Absmeyer, a 6:51 at the moment, so that puts him on pole. So, I mean, these times are coming down. That's fantastic. Oh, look at that. There we go, 2 wheels in the air from Absmeyer. Wow. That reminds me many, many years ago, Manfred Winkelhock. And his Formula One car took off like that. Phew, that was pretty hairy.
I'm going to be very interested to see what happens when they get down to the launch paddle that we saw yesterday, where we saw, of course, Elton Bowen. I think it was one of the other youngsters that got out of shape there in the closing stages to get through and make a maneuver on the Audis. I don't think you can do that as quickly and as easily as they did in their rally car here in these hypercars. So those kind of mistakes, remember, we've got to mention it right from the word go, and we'll keep mentioning it through the night. These cars are like the real thing. They will get damage. They will take strain on suspension. Tire wear is a big factor. So is engine wear. So they're all going to play around and make sure also that they've got enough fuel in the car when we actually start racing.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, don't forget these semi-finals are only sort of roughly 2 laps, so between 17 and 20 minutes. So fuel might not be too much of a factor, but the wear and tear on the car could play a major factor. These cars are very, very highly tuned, so you don't want to break them. That's for sure.
That is 100% right, Sash. You do not want to be breaking these cars. You do not want to have any issues in the car that could cost you points. Points is what it's all about tonight. Just a reminder to everybody, they score 25 for a first, 22 for second, 20 for third, and it goes all the way down to 19th place, and that will get you 1 point. If you get last and 20th, you get 0 points. So the idea is to be at least in that top 10 to top 12 if you want to make it through to the top 20 for the grand final on Sunday night, and of course the plate final on Sunday night as well. That is the bottom 20, 21 to 40th place in tonight's proceedings.
Yeah, that's what it's about. We whittled it from 80 down to 60 now. This is huge pressure. They got 2 heats each. They're going to be racing in the same mix of drivers in the 2 different cars. But this is about gaining the points and hopefully getting into the top 40. 20 people are going to go home this evening, but there'll still be 40 drivers for tomorrow night. Of course, the grand final is where you want to be, but getting into the plate final as well is no mean feat, Greg. It's tough for everybody this evening.
It is indeed. We're also going to be looking at an opportunity for, of course, the youngsters involved in these semi-final heats to possibly go on to win the Volkswagen Motorsport Academy drive next year, 2021. That'll get you a chance to go and be part of the Volkswagen Driving Academy, the Volkswagen Motorsport Academy, that is. And we've got 3 of them that I'm aware of in this heat. Arno Versaki, Tian van Rooyen, and Nico Nicolaisen, who are going to be, of course, the drivers involved for the shootout in this one and the shootout for the rest of the competition to win that incredible opportunity from Volkswagen South Africa and Volkswagen Motorsport South Africa, more importantly.
Well, I tell you, Greg, just watching, on board with Jason Absmeyer and looking at Anton Bowe, who's a good 10 seconds behind him. Off the start this evening, if one of these drivers manages to get away at the front, I think it's going to be incredibly difficult for somebody to catch them.
Yeah, that's exactly what we saw last night. Absmeyer, 1.6 on his previous lap at this point, looking for a chance to maybe even go quicker, so that would bring him down into possibly the low 50s. If you can get into that lap kind of time, I don't know if anybody else is going to be able to do those laps. Although, when we said that last night, Sash, a couple of guys surprised us in the sort of second, third, and fourth heats. And remember, we've got 6 heats this evening. So there's still a lot of driving to happen. Just for interest's sake, and the people that are watching, what we've done is we've taken the top 60 and we have shuffled them in our Sorting Hat app and put them into 3 separate heats now. We then took those same 60 names and reshuffled them for the second section of tonight. And that'll be heat 1, 2, and 3 of semi-final 2, and that's in the Zonda R.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that's also going to be quite quite a bun fight between the drivers getting into those Zonda R's. I mean, you couldn't want two more spectacular vehicles to drive around the Nordschleife this evening.
Well, Sash, as we're sitting here and we're watching all this action, of course, we're coming to the closing stages of what was their qualifying for this heat. Each of the guys had a chance to get out there and put in a last-ditch effort to put themselves onto the grid for this evening. It works slightly differently to what it did in ACC and with what we did at the previous outing. Remember, the previous outing, we basically had an opportunity where the qualifying was done and we could put them straight into the grid. Now with AC, the whole idea and the way the game works is that you've got to do a qualifying session before you can line up the grid, because it automatically takes you into the race start.
Yeah, I tell you, lots of guys out on the track there, and just now when we actually bring up the lineup for the semi-final one, Greg, there are some big names in this heat tonight. That's for sure. It's really going to be some proper racing.
No, that's for sure. So as we're watching all these guys coming to the closing stages, this is the Audi straight. Have a look at this. That's Admire. Is that?
Yeah, he's backed off.
I think he may have rolled out of that slightly. I think he's maybe not looking to show his cards too much. And maybe he can hear us on the commentary and he's going, no, I'm not going to show everybody what I can do in this car just yet. Because they have the ability.
Yeah.
Slow down and takes it easy under Bilstein, heading up to the final section. And I don't think that 650 or low 650 is going to be what's going to be on the cards here for him. But Sash, as we're talking, I don't know if he's going to have enough time to do the lap there, though.
No, he won't have enough time. But I tell you, the pace that he was going, Greg, he was going to be into the high 40s, somewhere around about a 48, 47, 48. So really, the guy's pedaling and definitely looks extremely strong.
Mitchell Larson, another man who ran at the front end as well as he comes into his out lap. I don't know if he's going to have enough time to even put one full lap in here, considering that we're getting to the closing stages here. At 6:25, of course, it goes to the 5-minute board, so we will be getting ready to rock and roll. And also a big reminder to everybody, last night's points don't count, Sash. Remember, tonight we are completely zeroed again, so no one has scored points until they finish each of the heats that they do tonight. They don't get added on to the tally that they scored for the quarterfinals. They only score points in the heat that they race in for semi-final 1 and the heat that they race in for semi-final 2.
Yeah, you know what? So it's everyone's on level playing field, and however you got drawn out, that's who you're going to have to race against, and you've got to try and maximize the points in both of these heats that you have. So 2 semi-finals. Look at the way that car coming over the in front of Mitchell Larson. Somebody's had a huge off. At a very fast part of the circuit as well. This little kid, Greg.
He's impressive, eh?
Yeah, very impressive. This kid is impressive. Yesterday, the way he was on no wheels, barging his way through. He's going to love being on 2 wheels in this Porsche as well.
What I got to say as well, Sash, is every time you and I react, and of course our commentator that's going to be joining us as part of the commentator search will react, it's pretty spectacular. But when you're in a hypercar and the speeds are that much quicker, the reaction is a lot more hair-raising than what they were previously. And I can see that already from yours.
100%. I mean, listen, it's just so much fun, for the people who are just tuning in and missed our previous events. You got to understand. I mean, if you could see off camera what it looks like, I take my cap off, I'm pulling my hair out, I'm going crazy with some of the antics that are going out there. But it's fabulous fun to watch, and it's so great to watch the skill of these drivers, because this takes hours and hours and hours of practice to be able to do what these guys are doing.
I think what we need to do as well is possibly maybe tomorrow night is get a camera on the two of us and put a video up like our good friend Andrew Coley did when he did the WRX final in South Africa last year. Because if you saw how animated he got.
I think it definitely should be done.
That's what it looks like. Henry Roux in car 1, Adrian Wood car 2, Robbie Teens is car 3, Ulrich Incident 4, 5 is Tian van Rooyen, and 6 is James Leach, Nico Nicolaisen and Travis Therese, 7 and 8, Arnu Versaki and Richard van Heerden. 13 is Upton. Ray Duggan is there 14. Richard Clark, 15. Eli Vergara from East London in 16. 17 is Geldenace. 18 is Bo. 19 is Marcel Ullman. And, of course, that is the young man who, of course, comes from one of our sponsors. And, Gerard, thanks for letting your youngster join us, bud. We do appreciate that. But, Sash, what it does allow me to do as well is come back to studio quickly before we go racing. And let's introduce our first semi-finalist in terms of the commentator search.
Yeah, what a great honor and what a great excitement to have one of our commentator searchers joining us for the first race this evening, Greg.
Yes, indeed. A big welcome to Richard Herring. There he is. How are you doing, Rich?
Hey, welcome, Richard.
Hey, guys. Sorry, apologies. You spoke there. I missed the question, Greg.
I was just saying, are you looking forward to the action this evening?
Very much so. I'm a big fan of the Nürburgring, so I'm very much looking forward to it. And huge Porsche fan, so you guys really honor me with the heat you've chosen for me. I'm a huge fan.
Cool, man. It looks like you got a pretty decent setup over there as well, Richard. You must be quite a racer yourself?
Yeah, my rig is literally sitting right here next to me, just out of shot. So this is the side I'm usually used to with the casting, but yeah, I do a little bit of racing on the side every now and again when I can.
So listen, take us through what you thought of us launching this competition. Do you think it's a worthwhile entity to get involved in and possibly look at extending what you've done in the sim racing world and the e-racing world and looking at doing it in the mainstream real racing world as well?
Oh, absolutely. It's actually been a bit of a dream of mine to go from the sim racing side to be able to do a real race. We did the 6 hours of Kyalami in the lockdown, which was obviously a huge milestone for me. But, this is sorely needed in South Africa. It's a sport that just does not get the kind of attention it rightfully deserves. We've got such talent in this country, as we've just seen. It's about time we start really getting some mainstream media attached to it. And with you guys, we're bringing that. So that's just great.
You know what's also fascinating, I mean, from my point of view, and Greg might echo the comments, is, this is a sort of a new sphere for me. I've always known that it was there, but I wasn't maybe perhaps aware of how big it is and also how passionate everybody is. So it's so wonderful to see that there's this great community of people, whether they're racers and then, of course, people like yourself, racers who also want to commentate and be part of it and build the sport. So, well done to you and also all of the leagues that you are part of.
Thank you, man. Sasha, I got a question for you. Are you going to come join us on track at any point?
I will, young man. I promise you, I'm ready to go. I'm so excited.
Good.
I might not be that
I
good,
look forward to
but
it.
watch me.
Now, you know what? As long as you're putting, rubber on the black stuff, that's all that really matters, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I can't wait.
It is. That is for sure.
Good stuff.
And of course, the rubber on the black stuff is happening in the background as we can see the final bits of qualifying. Now, Rich, being involved from a sim racing point of view, we haven't really had anybody to sort of talk commentary-wise. We've had a couple of interviews with guys who are involved in the sim racing, in the leagues, behind the scenes team with Neil Marks and, of course, with Jason Holden-Jones. But from your side, it's a completely different way of getting things sorted out and getting ready for an event. What do you think the preparation is for the drivers like this?
You can see it in the way they're driving. They're trying to, get those apexes. They're trying to get every single line sorted out. So I think it's just a mental game of, it's a long track. Make sure you can remember at least 80% of it. That's going to really be a big start. And, just make sure that you're in the zone. No distractions. Just make sure you're focused on the job at hand.
Well, Richard, when you guys are competing against each other, I mean, do you guys share a lot of information, sit there and one or two tricks about setup of cars, or is it quite a closely guarded secret, very much similar to the real racing world?
Well, I think it's really a matter of where you're racing. There's a lot of communities that are really aimed at making sure that the new guys get a rewarding experience, that they aren't met with hostility and aggression because, they maybe aren't as experienced as some others. So an environment like that, you can really find guys lending a very open hand, discussing how much fuel's needed, what kind of tire pressures are needed. But in an event like this, I don't think guys are going to be too open with the information, especially if they're putting money towards some of the tunes like some of the guys are. I think they're going to be holding cards pretty close to the chest, personally.
I think we saw that right now. If you take into account what Absmeyer did down that straight, looking to go probably into the 650s or maybe even into a high 49, and then just backed out and said, no, I'm not going to show my card. So you can see the antics and everything that's required is certainly starting to take place. And as I say that, speaking of taking place, Sash, you can see them lining up on the grid as well. So we are almost good to go here for semi-final 1, heat number 1.
Good stuff.
Yeah, listen, Greg, I tell you, this is going to be a really, really exciting heat. The guys know that there's quite a lot of pressure on them. They know this is about points. You don't want to make a mistake right at the beginning, as we saw in 1 or 2 of the races yesterday, and all of a sudden you land up losing 6, 7 places down the road. So the start is going to be critical, and thereafterwards you're going to have to pace yourself and try and get into a really, really solid rhythm.
All right, gentlemen. The engines have started. The cars are rolling. We're going to ask our EFX director, Mr. Brendan Marseille, to take us down to the Nordschleife. Ready to rock and roll now. I can see the pace car is sitting waiting to go. Okay, we'll give him a slight moment because the race start procedure is now in play. Sash, who's your money on?
Well, listen, Absmeyer's looked really, really good. We saw him. He 1 or 2 sections of the track, he got a little bit out of shape. It's going to depend if anybody can push him, Greg. If somebody can stay with him, it's going to create problems for him. But if he manages to get out front and pull a lead within the first 4 or 5 kilometers of this track, he might be able to settle it to a really, really good rhythm. So I think it's going to take a lot to beat him.
Oh, let's go trackside right now because it looks like we are good to go. And cars are rolling down to where we are going to be, of course, starting this race. You saw this last night as well there, Richard. And, of course, Rich, what's happening with this is they are under starters orders here. They get in their ears when to hit the pedal and go. And that comes up just as they come around the next right-hander. There's a 3K board to go on the left-hand side. And you'll hear in their ears from our race control, go, go, go. And it's now time to do just that. As they head down there, Absmeyer looking to get away right from the word go. Great start there from him. It's Duggan in second, Mitchell Larson and Adrian Wood. We just saw Woody put a great time in. Can he stay at the front end? Rich, what's your feeling?
You know what? I just love, as you swap over to me, we've got Porsches getting airborne on this early section here, and it's one of my favorite sections of this track. Is that point where you get all 4 wheels off the circuit and you land, and you have absolutely zero control for that. Just a small breath, and then you're back on it. And as you said, Jason Absmeyer putting the absolute hammer down. This man really knows how to bring the pace when he's asked to, and I think it's time he's been summoned to bring that pace just up.
Yeah, Greg, over the past couple of events, Absmeyer's had some kind of issues, but yesterday in his quarterfinal 2, he was supreme. And look at him, he's already a second ahead of everybody else. Maybe Absmeyer's found his mojo and is going to show everybody tonight that he is the man to beat tonight and tomorrow.
Keep an eye out, though, because just behind the man who we're on board with, Adrian Wood, comes Elton Bow and Ulrich Ensslin. These 2 drivers looking to try and get up as high as they can. Woody trying to find a way past here on Mitchell Larson. Mitchell Larson going extremely defensive as they went through that little S-bend, heading up towards what is Magnersveld here on the top end of the circuit. Remember, they start to climb the hill here. There's 300 meters of elevation to play with at the Nordschleife, 170 odd corners to play with as well. And we've got a car off. That's the leader by the looks of things. Was that Absmeyer who went off? I think it may have been. No, it's not. Very lucky, though. It's Duggan.
It was Duggan.
And Ray Duggan got out of shape there properly. Rich, how was that?
It's just one of these things that like I said, you've got to remember where you are at any given time. You get just that little bit on the turbo grass, and it's going to teach you a very, very hard lesson. We're lucky it wasn't Jason Absmeyer, though, but the Iceman out in front, a little bit of drift action there from the 918 on camera. So, it's going to be hard pressed, especially how close these guys still are in the early sections of this race. It's a really, really, really solid little bit of driving from these guys. Sasha, what do you think of these early stages?
Got ahead of Versace and Wood now pushing Mitchell Larson up there in 3rd position. Anton Bow just behind him, and Ulrich Ensslin getting into the mix as well. I tell you, so the fight here for second is massive. Jason Absmeyer has a nice 2.2 second gap ahead of Mitchell Larson. Duggan now going to be pushing himself to get in that mix as well. This race is far from over.
Now, Woody is definitely closing on Larson. So Larson's time is kind of numbered there. Bow is in the mix, and Ensslin just getting through on Elton Bow. So Ulrich Ensslin now, if you look in the rearview mirror of this car that we're on board with, you can actually see Ulrich Ensslin starting to close things down and closing down on Adrian Wood. Woody will have to be very, very defensive. Remember, Adrian Wood has spent oodles of time in the global touring cars on the real track. So we'll know what it's like to have a very fast man closing in on him, because most of the time he was in global touring cars, the Class B category, the GTC2s, and basically he would have been involved with those big GTC cars coming up at any stage. And look at how Enslin is closed here. Richie is absolutely hauling and means business right from the word go. He cannot afford to let Absmeyer get away. And
I think he's just about to do that. I think he might be offering Absmeyer just that. Enslin just that opportunity, as you say that. You know, it's one thing to speak about experience on the real circuit, but this man Enslin has oodles of experience within the sim. So they're going to bring a different game essentially to the circuit. You know, look at that, just putting it there on the carousel, making it stick, powering out, absolutely stellar drive from the man, and that's the sim experience. Just knowing when he can absolutely crank it.
Enslin's got to make it stick. He's got to make it stick. Unbelievable drive in there. Wood under so much pressure from Elric Enslin. Now Enslin's going to chase down Mitchell Eisen. This is the Elric Enslin that we want to see racing over here. And I tell you, Jason Absbeck not pulling away from Mitchell Eisen. It's sticking at 2 seconds. So the boys have really got a chance to push up on them. If Enslin can push Mitchell Eisen, and I tell you, all of a sudden we got our race on. There's Mitchell Eisen chasing down Jason Absmeyer. There's our leader in the Seagate Porsche 918.
Now, Rich, I can tell you what you need to watch out for here is Enslin closing on Lyson. But Lyson has come from world karting experience and, of course, now part and parcel of some saloon car racing too. Not only in the sim world, but in the real racing world. So his potential to bet that Porsche as wide as possible is certainly going to help him out. He is closing rapidly. We're a bit further back there with Robbie Teams. Robbie Teams looking to close down on Ono Fasaki. And he also got Ferrari right behind him. So some battles happening right through this pack, as we saw last night. Probably not as erratic or as chaotic as what it was in the Audis, though, Rich. They're taking it a bit more easy, not to do any damage on the cars. How important is that?
I think it's critical for a circuit like this, for a circuit of this length. You know, you pick up even a small amount of damage on one of the slower sections, it's going to absolutely punish you in the faster sections. It's going to create such unnecessary. Apparently, we have an off somewhere. I believe we've.
That's Enslin. Enslin has dropped Enslin.
Yeah.
He's dropped down to 6th position.
That's a solid recovery from the man. It's going to hurt, though. He's not going to be happy with that.
So down in sixth place now with some let's back into the rhythm as quickly as possible. And that's very, very crucial too, not only in the real race, but in sim racing as well. Once you've made the mistake, the number one and the best theory that most racing drivers will tell you is forget that mistake instantaneously and concentrate on what you're doing for the next part. And that's exactly what Enslin was able to do there.
Yeah, having a look at Raymond Duggan, don't forget he was in 2nd place. He's dropped down to 6th, and now he's fought his way back up to 4th. We're on board with him now. He's got Adrian Wood in front of him, so Duggan definitely tried to get back onto that podium position, as many points as possible. Also, we spoke about how vital the points are. Elric Enslin has thrown away a huge amount of points from that 3rd position. He's now down in 6th position. But the great thing about it, Richard, they do have another heat as well.
Well, that's going to really make the man smile, I'm sure, at the end of the day, knowing, like you say, just forget about the mistake. I was taught the same thing in karting. Just put it at the back of your head, carry on with the job at hand. You can't linger and dwell, because it's going to teach you a lesson 3 or 4 corners down the road. And going on to the 2nd lap now, that's exactly what these guys are going to be focusing on, just making sure that this last part is 100% clean.
Rich, echoing your sentiment 100% there as well. When you make the mistake, they always say to forget about it and get on with it. The other part of a great racing driver is when he has the success. Forget about that success and look for the next one. So it works in both ways. The negative and the positive have to be forgotten about almost instantaneously to continue with a career if you want to be the best of the best. And what we have right here, I have to say, and I hope that you're going to echo the sentiment from a real racer's point of view, we've got some of the best in the country and some of the best in the world. From a sim racing point of view, we have the same. So I think this is a great format to get the real world and sim together.
Now, I think this is the attention we need. You know, this is a highly popular track, very popular brand of car. I think this is a nice little stepping stone in the, like I said, getting that mainstream media attention. It's just going to be so important. The rest of esports has been getting that attention. 2020 is going to be sim racing here.
Yeah, it's just fantastic to watch here. We're into the 2nd lap. And I tell you, we're going to have a look at Ono Fasaki. He's catching Elric Enslin at the moment. So Enslin might have had some damage onto that car as well, which is affecting the stability. So Versace going to be doing everything he can to get through on Elric Enselen. For the rest of it, the status quo at the moment is pretty good. We've got Absmeyer, we've got Mitchell Lyson, then Wood, and then Duggan. Duggan dropped back a little bit from Wood as well. But Arno Versace always getting closer. Oh, a little bit tight going through that left-hander. Careful on the throttle here because you can really spin the back out as well. But this is going to be to the line, Greg.
Listen, it's going to go right to the line. Mitchell Lyson has not given up here, that is for sure. But I think the other important factor is Jason Absmeyer has not had any hardware failure with him this evening, which is a great sign for him to stay out front. Mitchell Lyson, though, is certainly going to be a thorn amongst the roses in terms of the sim world, coming in here and showing the kind of pace he's got there. But Lyson is definitely a man to watch out for. We're watching Versace, but the reason we're watching Versace is Ray Duggan is in that battle with Elton Bow, Enselen, and Versace. We've got about 4 or 5 cars fighting for the top 5 honors there. Sash, you mentioned Enselen dropping down to where he is now in 6th place. That loses him 7 points. So those are vital points that he's losing by that little mistake he made and making sure that he is now, unfortunately, out of the top 5.
Yeah, very much so, Greg. But I tell you, he seems to have got his composure back now, and now he's right in the back of Ray Duggan. So, you know, anything can happen here. Watch out for Versace and Enselen. We're looking back from Duggan. Enselen is right behind him. Enselen seems to be mega through the the tighter parts of the Nordschleife. So now, you know, if he gets the right exit onto one of these long straights like here, maybe he can have a go at Ray Duggan.
Yeah, it's so funny that you say that, and it's really such an important element of the circuit. And we have a move going down there. Duggan going too wide with Enselen there. I think Enselen's going to have made it stuck according to the leaderboard there.
Yep.
Where does Enselen come out? Oh, still too wide to the Nordschleife. Woo! This is what I love about the circuit. Just enough space to drive too wide, and if you get a driver that can match you with it, you get some of the most exciting racing you can really see. But this knife fight is only just developing, as we have Versace also sitting just behind this battle, waiting for his chance to knife fight with these two. Sasha, what do you think of this part of the circuit? It's technical enough for them to make these kinds of moves, right?
Yeah, very much so. You know, this is where you can really sort of outfox your opponent looking for some kind of an undercut. But it also means you're going to have to be very brave. The most important part here is getting the exit right so that, you know, you have a chance and you come out a little bit faster than your opponent. But here's Arno Versace right on the back of Duggan. Duggan now pushing back on Enselen, but Enselen now right on the back of Anton Bow as well. So Enselen fighting back for everything, and a great recovery after his mistake early on.
No, Versace's definitely pushing it to the limit, yes, that is for sure. There is no doubt, and look at how he's pushing. He's going off track as well. That's how hard he's pushing. He's pushing it a little bit too hard. So he might have just got out of the rhythm. And remember, it's all important to stay in a rhythm here and try and ensure that you don't overdrive, don't push the car too much. Watch for the braking points that you found in practice and in qualifying. I mean, they haven't had a lot of time in these cars, but they have had a lot of time on the track. So they're going to know where those brake points are. They're going to know that in a hypercar like this, the Porsche 918 Spider, there are only braking points because of the speed differentials that they've had between the Alpha 33 Stradale, the Audi, and tonight's Porsche. And that's exactly the important factor here coming into the closing stages. Don't make any vital mistakes.
He's gone wide. He's run wide.
You do not want to do that.
Bo's run wide. Is Elric Enselen going to make it stick on this? Because he has his chance right towards the end of this race.
As we say that, Versace and Duggan right behind them having their own little battles. We've got 2 interesting battles here forming for 4th and for 6th respectively. You know, it's going to come down to the wire as they're heading into this final far section.
Oh, this is going to be unbelievable. Can Elric Enselen do anything in the slipstream with Anton Bow in front of him? Oh, he's run a little bit wide. But Bow's made a mistake. Elric Enselen trying to find anywhere past him. But that Porsche in front of him is the widest Porsche you've ever seen. And they're not...
Yeah, he's making that Porsche extremely wide here, as wide as he possibly can. A little bit of drift action there, here and there. I can tell a couple people in the comments that I've seen coming up are going to be particularly happy with seeing the Porsche doing that. But look, coming to these closing sections, you really want to be keeping it as tight as possible. Even though it makes you big, it makes you slow.
Yeah, very much so. You've got to get your exit speeds here. Jason Absmeyer looking very comfortable out front, but this is the battle for 4th place and vital points between Anton Bow and Elric Enselen. He must have the shot here. He's got the long shot. He's driving alongside him. This is going to be extremely fast all the way there, but he must make his way onto the left-hand side of the track. That is the better line. There we go. Brilliant driving from Elric Enselen. Bo now tries to get the slipstream as well, do the same to him. Is he going to dive on the inside? He dives down the inside. Who's going to be the bravest? Going into the left-hander. Unbelievable driving from Bo and Ensslin. This is fantastic. Unbelievable. Ensslin goes off onto the track. Brilliant stuff.
Oh no, I think Enslin's having a trouble. He's completely dropped it. That is going to be gutting for Ensslin. He is going to be very unhappy with that. A man I know with the alien skills. Is he going to be able to defend these two cars behind him, though, to keep that second spot?
Oh, man, unbelievable. What a battle between Ensslin and Bo. And eventually Ensslin, unfortunately, dropping it. Only lost one position, though, Greg. Very, very lucky for him. What a brilliant, brilliant first semi-final. Jason Absmeyer, got to say, fantastic. Eli Bagara coming through in 10th place. I think he'd be quite happy with that. Some very, very valuable points for him. And that puts him on, you could say, on the cusp of our top 20 when it comes to the top 40 when it comes to our finals tomorrow. What a fabulous race. Richard, did you enjoy that?
Pins and needles a little bit. That's the kind of racing I love to see, man. Something coming down to the absolute very last. That was a good little spell of racing there. 2 exciting laps of the Notchlife. What a way to spend the evening.
Yeah,
well, Rich, we want to thank you very much for all of the effort that you put in from our side and the commentator search side of things. You did a phenomenal job. Well done. Remember, what you need to do now is ensure that all your friends, fans, and family and everybody that follows you on social media gets onto the Solidarity E-Race page, goes and finds your specific post. It has been posted while we were busy with the commentary and while you were waxing lyrical here with my good friend Sasha Martinengo. And please make sure that they like, share, and put comments down so that it makes the judging panel's job a little bit easier. You've done the job tremendously well, I have to say, Sash. Do you agree?
Yeah, well done. Superb job, superb. Lovely to have you on board, and I wish you well.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity. And I'm now going to go put it on my TV so I can continue watching.
We look forward to it. There you go, a little bit of producer.
I really appreciate it.
So, Rich, all the best for the competition. Good luck with the rest of it. Hopefully, by the end of tomorrow or by 12 o'clock tomorrow, you'll be getting a phone call from either yours truly or from the organizers to tell you that you are going to be moving on to the plate final tomorrow night with Sasha and I, and the 3,000 Rand, and, of course, a mentorship with yours truly. I hope that's also an exciting part of what you entered for.
I look forward to that opportunity. I look forward to getting the call, and very much looking forward to it. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Well, that's Richard Herring, our first competitor in the semi-finals here this evening, but the semi-finals of the commentator search, along with the first semi-final of what was happening out on track. And Sash, 25 points going towards Jason Absmeyer, 22 to Mitchell Lyson, 20 goes to Adrian Wood. We got 18 going to Bo, 16 going to Duggan, and Ulrich Ensslin, with that big mistake in the end, drops down to 15 points. That means he is 10 points behind Jason Absmeyer, one of his biggest rivals. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, listen, I mean, that was just a brilliant race. You know, we called it right from the beginning, Greg. We said, listen, if Absmeyer gets away, it's going to be tough to beat. And that's exactly what happened. But Duggan made a mistake trying to push too hard. And then, of course, we had a little bit of an issue with Ensslin. He fought his way back. But that scrap together between Ulrich Ensslin and Anton Bo, just magical. So out of this, in the points category, you got to say the top 10 is where you want to be, because you want to be in the top 40 for tomorrow night, and top 10 with another race to go. If you get into the top 10 again, you more than likely are going to secure yourself into that top 40 for tomorrow night. The difference is can you be in the top 20 or from 21 to 40?
I have to agree 100%, Sash. And I think as we start to see cars finishing up their qualifying session now for Heat 2, let's Heat 2 as well as it lines up. It's it's one of the two drivers. Now, I say one of the two because unfortunately the second one, or the guy who actually scored full points, he basically ended up with a penalty last night. So Jordan Sherritt getting that penalty stopped him from scoring full points in both heats that he won. So it is only Leslie Oliphant who is in this next heat, as Brendan puts it up for us, who has got full points coming into this. But of course, those full points no longer count. But it does count in terms of confidence going into tonight's racing.
You know what's really brilliant about what the organizers have done, and especially our guys who are in the back, Jason Holden Jones and Neil Marks. who are putting together all of the rules and regulations, Greg. You know, it's like normal motor racing. When you go motor racing, there are rules and regulations. You have driver briefings. You get told about things. You know, if you don't read all of the rules and regulations and you're not au fait with them, you can get caught out. And, you know, from my world of Formula One, you know, I go back to, I think, 1999, the British Grand Prix, where Michael Schumacher won the race by driving into the pits, for example. Yes. And sometimes, you know, you sit there and say, oh, well, nobody will notice. That's why we've got our clerk of the course and our stewards and our marshals doing such an to make sure that it's clean and fair for everybody.
That's exactly right, Sash. And of course, clean and fair for everybody means that it's got to be clean and fit the maneuver on track too. So if you are caught out by doing something erratic or not within those rules, of course, those COCs, they've been around in the sim world for a long, long time, and our stewards as well. They will make that call, and they've made the call. So it has cost Jordan Sherritt a couple of points. It didn't cost him, fortunately, getting into tonight's semi-final. But he is going to be under the scrutiny to ensure that he doesn't make mistakes like that again. He's not in this one. He only comes through in heat number 3. But as I was saying, Leslie at the top of the list is the only man to come into tonight with full points scored in the quarterfinals. And that must be a massive, massive advantage to be at.
Yeah, I mean, you know, as we say, even though the points now are 0, he knows from a confidence point of view, Greg, that he knows how to hook up this track properly. He's done an exceptional job. And just looking at this, I mean, these semis are unbelievable with the quality of drivers there. Oliphant, Familiaris, Mochotzi, Van Rensburg, Brummer, Leisha, Mitchell. They all there. Mark Henbury had an unbelievable drive yesterday as well. So, you know, don't discount Noah Hendricks down there as well. Don't discount anybody in these semi-final heats.
Yeah, and also in this semi-final heat, according to what I've got, the only man who fits into the Volkswagen Motorsport Academy entry would be Kurt Leshagen. He sent us an entry saying that he fits in between the 14 and 24-year-olds that will be looking to be the best gamer finishing by the end of tomorrow night, and then going on to 2021's Volkswagen Motorsport Academy. So that's one to watch out for too. He might be concentrating on that and maybe just trying to get through as much as he can. But we saw big action last night from Devin Piazzamusso. Rian Tennyson was in it as well. Christopher Langeveld was in there big time as well. So there is a bit of a fight on in this one. And I think if we see possibilities, you know, there's going to be some mixing with these drivers too. So if we get the kind of race we just seen now, where there's 4 or 5 cars fighting for a position, it's going to get real again, which is incredibly exciting. And of course, looking forward to what is going to happen not only on track but also alongside us here, because it gives us also another opportunity, Sash, to bring in our second contestant tonight for the commentator search. And unbelievably, Sasha Martinengo, this young man is only 9 years old.
I think he's 11. I asked him, he's 11. Okay. Is he?
Okay,
that's unbelievable.
There you go. Information that just gets shared on different platforms, I suppose. Okay, so if he's 11, let's introduce him. A big welcome to Clark King. How are you doing, young man?
I'm doing quite well, thank you. How are you guys doing?
Oh, we're good.
Man,
we just had a great race, so we can't be too bad.
Yeah.
Did you watch the race there, Clark? What did you think of the action so far?
Well, I mean, it was the mistakes that were made. I think it was mostly just pressure from other drivers. I mean, the Nürburgring is such a long and enduring race. It's like 12 kilometers long and everything like that. So the pressure really gets to you when you're having a wheel-to-wheel battle with someone else, especially for like a podium position.
Well, Clarky, what I've done is I've also just sent you the race numbers that have been sent through to me, because what that list that came up, as you would have seen, is the list that I photographed and sent to you earlier on with the competitors' entries. But what we've done as well is sent you the race numbers just in case you need that too via the WhatsApp group, and just shows how things work here. Now, being a young man like you are, you must be playing around on, maybe not on smartphones yet, but smart devices for sure. And I think there's an iPad or a tablet somewhere, and possibly a laptop and some gaming equipment behind you or in front of you right now. Am I right?
Yeah, I used to have an iPad, but now I do have a smartphone now, and I do have a laptop in front of me doing this commentary and everything, which is quite nice.
Clark, where does your love for racing come from? In your family, where did it start, and what kind of racing do you follow?
Well, when I was about 5 years old, my father would normally come to my house and watch Formula One races. I remember watching, I think it was the 2014 Canadian Grand Prix or something, and then I don't know what made it, but I just fell in love with Formula One and the whole motorsport community, and I know quite a lot about the history of motorsport and Formula One and everything like that. So it's quite nice.
So listen, Sasha Montenegro, maybe you shouldn't come and mentor me. Maybe you should be mentoring him.
Yeah, I'm just so excited, to see such a young person like Clark having the chutzpah and the tenacity and the ambition to go and do this. It's incredibly difficult and daunting to now go and record yourself, Greg, to do a commentary. So, number one, just hats off for doing that, Clark. I can't wait to hear your comments when we go racing in a few minutes.
Yes, I can't wait either. I've been waiting for this the whole day, so.
Yeah, you've been pretty excited. I had to try and go via Mom to get information out of Mom as well. So big thanks to Diane and getting all the information to us on time. Remember, Clark, as well, to tell all your friends, fans, and family and everybody that's following you on your social media platforms that your post is about to go up. It's scheduled, I think, for 7:05. So as soon as we get into the race, your post will go live on Solidarity E-Races page. They need to go there, like, share, and comment on the post. And then we will be looking at that to see how much engagement you get and how well you do this evening.
Okay, thank you.
So, Sash, we got our second heat coming up now, buddy, and we got a young man who's pretty excited about joining us too. We got some visuals on track and guys starting to put in the laps. 6:44. Wow. Whoa! Is that a 6:44.4? That's a brand new unofficial lap record in this qualifying session from Olifant. I don't know if this could be deemed as a road-going car, though, Seth. Is it a road-going car?
Well, I think you have to say that it is a road-going car. Yeah, I think I would go with the road-going car. But Greg, what is so exciting to see there is Langeveld is only half a second off the pace.
Yeah, and Familiaris closing in too. Brummer's there, Henry's there, Machotsi's there, Piazza Musso. All of the usual contenders are in the mix here as well. Now, turning my attentions to the young man sitting alongside us here this evening, there is the list of drivers and the cars' numbers. Who is your favorite in this one, Clark?
Well, I would, based off of numbers, I do race with the number 18, so Noah Hendricks is a favorite, but I do watch really fun do hot laps and everything, so I think I think I'm putting my money on him to get pole position.
Sure, there you go.
Yeah, there we go. Clark knows his stuff. I tell you, this is going to be something exceptional. Greg, that's the difference between the first race that we had, where we had Jason Absmeyer, and he had a very comfortable pole lap ahead of everybody else. This time, it's very, very close. And Familiaris, can go faster. Brummer, I think we know can go fast as well. Machotzi, we definitely know. And Piazza Musa, we know it can go faster as well. So it's going to be all at the start. If you let Olifant get away, you're going to be in trouble.
Speaking of getting away, man, who got away from us, unfortunately, for this event. So, yeah, Essa's just joined us on the live feed. A big welcome to him. Ricky Marias in the house as well from NTech Racing. So we got motorcyclists watching sim racing. My queen is here. Ian Harwood from TRP is in the house too, and Bert Walters. Big welcome to all of them. Have you got people watching you on your platform there, Clarky?
Well, yeah, I think so. I got a couple of my friends and whatnot do commentary for Formula One, League Race and everything. They were quite interested, so sent them the link to the stream, and I'm going to send them the link when the race goes live.
Oh, wonderful. Well, great to have them along.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Olifant 6:44.4. That is, half a second quicker than the road-going Lamborghini lap. Now, just get confirmation, though. HC categorizes the 918 as a race car. But that's a pity, because the fastest race car that's ever gone around this circuit is a Porsche. It's not a 919. It's a 956, piloted by Stefan Beloff, who, of course, has got one of the corners on the circuit named after him, the Beloff S. That is the man who put that Rothmans Porsche 956 around the track in a time of 6:11.13. So they're slightly off the pace here in terms of what the other race cars have done in the past. But of course, that is a seasoned campaigner, a seasoned veteran and a Porsche factory driver behind the wheel of that 956.
Yeah, I tell you, Greg, Stefan Beloff, I think I'm actually going to do a blog one of these days on Stefan Beloff, because unfortunately we lost him way too soon as a racing driver. Might well have eclipsed even the likes of Ayrton Senna. A lot of people forget about what Stefan Beloff was about. So maybe we'll do a story on him one of these days. But the action is all about the second semi-final in the Solidarity E-Race, brought to us compliments of Seagate. It is Leslie Oliphant looking fastest at the moment, Greg. I think we're in for another exciting semi-final.
Yeah. If you were coming in, Clark, as well, just from a youngster's point of view, I know aesthetics, and when I say aesthetics, what the car looks like and what your kit looks like is very important. What would be your choice of color if you had a chance of jumping into one of these cars tonight?
Oh, it would definitely be green, or like kind of the South African car colors. I really love the colors of the South African flag. It's nice, but green's obviously my favorite color, so I would choose green, and obviously number 18.
I like your thinking, young man. Green is a good way to go, hey? You do know that there's a lot of thought from my side when you look at my Hulk Suzuki, and when you look at all the favorite things that I have in my world being green, coming from Ireland myself, just down the road from where you, of course, and your family have originated. So, we were the English, the Scottish, and the Welsh who learned how to swim, because we went across to that little island and made our own place, all of our own.
I love the stories, man. I'm so excited for this race. It was amazing. I thought my phone was buzzing and there was all of these noises around me, Greg, and then I realized, here in South Africa it's just gone 7 o'clock and everyone's got their vuvuzelas out and their pans and pots and looking after the health services during the lockdown. So I got a little bit of a fright, but I'm under control now.
Good. Are they doing it at your house as well, Clark? Are there a lot of people outside making noise at 7 o'clock and supporting all the people in the Solidarity and, of course, fighting COVID?
No, it's actually quite quiet here where we live. Sometimes I have an annoying motorcycle driver drive by and it's a loud engine and whatnot. But other than that, yeah, the street is quite silent.
An annoying motorcycle driver. Can we get this kid off the air, please? That's it.
I love it. There we go.
Okay, you're definitely going to be coming to
see my milkshake.
I am going to convert you to the love of two wheels as opposed to Formula One that this guy apparently likes.
You stick with me, Clark. Don't you worry, buddy.
All right, speaking of sticking with us, Clark, stick around because we're about to start the second heat this evening. It's semi-final number 2, heat number 2. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to try and give you and Clark a chance to sort of talk about most of the stuff. But if I need to jump in, I'll help you out. I may just hang in for the start, and then if there's anything interesting to bring in, I'll drop it in. But we want to try and give our guests as much of the commentary as we did for our first heat there with Richard Herring. So as they roll down here, looking at the way they line up, let's go to the main screen and have a squiz at the start as they go under starters orders for double wave yellows all the way down until they get into that right-hander. And then it's drop the hammer time.
Here we go. It is semi-final number 2 in the commentary booth with me, Clark King, and making his debut on the Solidarity E-Race. Do you think anybody can get past Leslie Oliphant, Clark?
Well, as I said a little bit earlier, it's quite hard to pass around this track. You do have a lot of pressure, so what I would do, I would be patient, watch for his weak spots at certain corners, wait for him to make a mistake, and then whenever he makes a mistake, then you've got that opportunity to make the move. Again, it's quite hard to do moves around this track. Let's just see how the race plays out.
Well, there we go. We are racing now. It's Leslie Oliphant ahead of Lagerfeld. Then we've got Brummer. Look at those cars. 2 wheels and 0 wheels going over the rise into the right-hander. That must be pretty scary. A clean start by everybody. Nobody tagging each other. Now get into a rhythm, Clark.
Well, I know this corner over here where they're going through now. This left-hander, you can see the exclamation marks there. It's not quite flat out. Or else you will go right into that Anchor barrier there. So you do have to brake, going to that left-hander, going into long right-hander, a little bit banked. past the Porsche driver, now going into the little bit of a smelly S section. Olifant is leading by 6/10 at the moment. He's got a comfortable lead. Brum is trying to chase down Line Leaf. Now going up the hill, going into this little, I don't really like this part of the track. It's a quite slow part of the track. I normally make mistakes here. High curves, don't want to get too much on the curbs there. A little bit of a chicane break again. Don't get too much on the outside curve. It can really unsettle you. And now it's just a little bit of a more of a snaily bit going all the way towards back.
Fantastic stuff. I tell you, there's nothing between the top 10. Sorry, Greg.
I love the insight that he's got here. You can see this young man has certainly spent hours and hours behind the screen driving the Nordschleifer and can basically give us the markers on the ground that these guys need to be looking at. And also looking at breaking points. And, you know, it's similar to what I see, Klopp, when I did the Isle of Man a couple of years ago with Alan John Fenton, got to drive around the circuit with him. He will show you bits and pieces on this track that other guys don't know about, or on the Isle of Man circuit. And it's nice to see the insight that you bring, showing us that, you know, when you see that exclamation mark, you know you've got half a breath and then you've got a break. Then you've got the S-bend. And I love what you're bringing in here. Langeveld, though, is certainly losing ground, though, to Olifant as we speak. But the battle here between Leisha, Mogotsi, Van Rensburg, and Byron Mitchell is starting to heat up.
Yeah, very much. I tell you, Mogotsi got past Leisha. But he's a couple of seconds behind Van Rensburg. But I tell you, nothing between Brummer, Familiaris, Van Rensburg, and Mogotsi. Here we are. We're on board with Tjeerd Brummer, and he's pushing really, really hard. He's got Charles Langeveld in front of him. And the problem is the two of each other are slowing each other down, and they're losing pace to Leslie Olifant, now up to 1.8 seconds.
Really close barrier. Normally through back, it's quite slippery and sliding through there. Now going through the Multiclub and Colostral, now going all the way up into the kind of more foresty bit, probably the northernmost point on the track, and diving into Spain Striker, which is the corner just before the very, very famous carousel. You'll see them now going through there, and then the whole arc, which is also quite hard to drive around, but it's a challenge here.
Well, I tell you, Langeveld running a little bit wide. Then I can see further down that Mogotsi lost his place to Leisha. Yeah, got past Mogotsi. There we go. Tjeerd Brummer right on the backside of Langeveld. He has to get a good exit out of here. He takes a different line. Very, very tight there from Langeveld. Brummer running a little bit to the left-hand side of the circuit. Now is where he really needs to put the gas down. Going into the left-hand, he's really, really buggered that one up. I've got to be honest. And Familiaris is the one who could really take him out here. Familiaris is going to be the one. Yes, no. It's a very well-known term that they use in commentary.
Yes. Oh, now they're going past YouTube corner. You can see all those clips that you see on Auto Addiction and whatnot. Soon they're going to see them go past. I think they just went past it now. It's quite it's quite a hot corner. It's really, the gravel is right there. It's not just grass, it's just gravel. So if you put one wheel on that curve or just inside of a car or anything, then you're sliding right into the Encore barrier on the other end of the track. Yeah, they just went past each corner now. Now they just need to have a good pace. Vermeer is getting really close to Brummer. This race might heat up between these two.
What I got to say here, guys, is Julian Familiaris. Sorry, Sash. Julian Familiaris absolutely hauling here. He's definitely a man who you need to keep an eye on, Sash, because I think he means business. As we saw last night, running at the front in a small mistake, and of course, he finished up with a big attack from his good compatriot there, Lorenzo Guarteri. But Familiaris also, similar to what we saw with Elton Bowe and with Mitchell Lyson in the first heat, is certainly the thorn amongst the roses here.
Well, I tell you, Langeveld ran wide there, and Brummer got really, really close. Familiaris is also in striking distance as well. Leisha has got ahead of Van Rensburg. Oh, somebody slowed down terribly. Or just going back, there was Byron Mitchell, and he's gotten past Mogotsi. It looks like Mogotsi seems to have some kind of a problem. He's dropped down to 9th place. He definitely has some kind of technical problem. No, we're back with him. Maybe just a little bit of finger trouble. Yeah, but he seems to be back on the power. Maybe his foot slipped off one of the pedals, something like that. And we've got our magic air balloon in the sky there as well. Maybe get some aerial shots. Look at this, getting into the slipstream. Greg, going down towards Devon Piazzamuso.
Now, Clocky, you got to see this from a racing driver's point of view. I want to bring your comments in here too. On this long Audi straight, they basically have an opportunity, if they can get into it, to slipstream the car in front of them. Now, I'm sure you know what slipstream is all about, but what we've spoken about in terms of that slipstream is the straight is long enough for the driver to get out of the slipstream and come back in and return the favor. So you got to be very, very careful that you don't go into that slipstream overtaking maneuver too early or make a mistake like that. All big moments as Familiaris puts the pressure onto Brummer.
This is really interesting. As I said a little bit earlier, things are going to heat up between these two. Just the first lap, the final lap now, obviously. This is going to be really pins and needles little race. Yeah, bouncing all over the curbs. He's doing really well, keeping his rhythm really well. Got really consistent pace, and it's not too much mistakes if you don't count the third one. Excursion, a little bit of excursion off the track. But other than that, Brummer's actually keeping his ground quite well. And so now I'm going to take the two wheels off the ground there.
Yeah, well, I tell you, Brummer managed to get through on Julian Familiaris. But Familiaris is going to fight back. I'm not entirely sure what happened to Familiaris. I think he ran a little bit wide. A guy to watch at the moment, back in 9th place. Now we the rear view from Dewald Brummer. He's got Familiaris all over the back of him. Machotzi beginning to fight back as well. He's only 2/10 behind Piazzamuso in 9th position. But staying with this battle, been a great battle there. The only problem for them is they've let Charles Lagerfeld get away from them. Christopher Lagerfeld, sorry, get away from them in 2nd place.
Heading down.
Clark, how do you see this ending up?
Oh, wait, what? I didn't understand what you're saying. Can you just repeat that?
Here we are. Julian Familiaris in 4th position is fighting hard to get back at Dewald Brummer. Whoa, look at the way that car squirms under the brakings. Hard onto the brakes into the left-hander now. He's lost quite a bit of time to Dewald Brummer, but he's got a little bit of a gap to Devin Leisha behind him as well. So they're looking pretty okay at the moment. Machotzi and Piazzamuso fighting pretty hard at the moment. We're on board now with Jonathan Machotzi. He's got Devin Piazzamuso just in front of him, and just in front of them as well is Byron Mitchell as well. So this is a great fight for 7th place with about 5 or 6 kilometers left of this circuit for all of the drivers. Leslie Oliphant, 2.8 seconds ahead of Charles Lagerfeld, then Brummer. Familiaris trying his best for 4th position. Clark, do you think Familiaris can take Dewald Brummer?
Right, we're just going to need to wait and see. I mean, he is slightly closing up at certain parts of the track. He is losing time as well at certain parts of the track as well. That's why it's going up and down, up and down. I think if Brummer keeps his pace up, he doesn't make any more mistakes from here on. I think Brummer is put himself in that podium position. I think stayed in 3rd position. Familiaris is losing a little bit of time now, but I don't think Brummer has too much pressure on him, or pressure from Familiaris. So see how the race plays on for the final couple of corners.
I tell you, this is terrific stuff between Machotzi and Piazzamuso. The one driving defensively, the one driving aggressively, and the other one, and then vice versa. They're both having to be defensive and aggressive in the final stages of this race. Now we're on board with Noah Hendricks. He's in 11th position. Right behind him, he's got Tiernissen. Whoa, and here we go. He's coming for a bit of a pass. Going to go down the inside. Are they going to touch? No. Oh, that was very close to a bit of a bumper bashing. But Noah Hendricks getting massive pressure. There we go. Tiernissen goes around the outside. Terrific pass. Brilliant, brilliant pass there from Tiernissen.
Hendricks coming from 18th to 11th place there as well, Sasha. And as we're getting into the closing stages, we're exactly right. And I think what we need to do is ask our director to concentrate on that battle that Clark was talking about, because it's only 0.7 of a second there between Brummer and Familiaris going into the last sort of 2.5 Ks of the track. So very, very tight battle between Brummer. There we go. Perfect timing, as always, from EFX. Brummer under attack there. And, well, it's Familiaris who's closing down on him. Take us to the end here, you two. It's been an incredible ride so far from both of you.
Go for it, Clark.
Yeah, so he's closing up a lot now. He might act aggressive and defensive at the same time. Brummer's got a lot of pressure, and you see they cut the track a little bit there, went on almost basically 4 wheels off the
Familiaris goes down the inside. That's an unbelievable move. Familiaris goes down the inside. What a
Brummer's
move!
got a problem.
Brummer seems to have all sorts of problems as well. Maybe he's had some kind of software issue, but Dierwold Brummer has dropped down behind Devin Leisha. He might be able to make it to the end without Van Rensburg taking his position. That is desperate luck for Dierwold Brummer, but just brilliant driving from Familiaris, just seeing some kind of an issue and diving to the right-hand side, not going into the back of him. Great reflexes.
Yeah,
there we go, Leslie Olifant.
Amazing drive here from Leslie Olifant. 2.7 seconds up the road from Christopher Langeveld. Familiaris lucky to survive and get through on the ailing car there just ahead of him. But what a finish to this race. A little bit of drama right in the closing stages.
Right, so Brummer's just gotten past ahead of Leisha again. So whatever issue Dierwold Brummer had, he's only lost 1 position, fortunately for him. But another classic semi-final here this evening. Wow, incredible stuff. And you got to look at those top 10. I think we've got Mark Henbury in 10th position. So those top 10 are looking pretty decent. Yeah, Devin Leisha over there coming through in 5th. What did you think of that, Clark?
Well, I think that was some intense racing, especially towards the end there with Brummer. I think he might have just his foot slipped, or maybe he had, as you said, a software issue. I guess I jinxed the race for Brummer after saying that he could fend off Familiaris, but I guess he didn't. But fortunately, he managed to get the ball back rolling again and managed to get his 4th place.
Well, I tell you, don't worry, young man.
Well
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Don't worry, the commentator's curse will be you for life.
Yeah, that's part and parcel of what you have to carry in your back pocket. Is you have a little bag that says commentator's curse, and every now and again you're going to drop a bomb that everybody will go, how could you have said that, Greg? Or how could you have said that, Clark? But you will drop it, don't worry. But I got to say, buddy, an incredible job there from your side. Congratulations on your first official live stream sporting event that you commentated on. Sash, from my point of view, listening in, he hit the nail on the head with everything in terms of the comments, knowing the drivers and knowing the circuit really well.
Yeah, knowing the circuit, just wonderful, Clark. Congratulations. So wonderful to have a young man like yourself getting involved in this in such a passionate kind of way, knows every little bit of the circuit, knows his drivers as well. Wonderful to have you on. Congratulations. That was really, really well done.
Thank you to you too, and I hope to see you guys in the final.
Well, we hope
Excellent
so too, buddy.
stuff.
What you've got to do now, though, it's up to you. You've got to make sure that your friends and family get onto the social media pages, especially the Solidarity E-Race Facebook page. Go and find your post. It's got your picture in it. They've got to go and like, share, and comment on that post. And you've got to go and get as much engagement as you can from now until about 11:30 tomorrow morning.
Thank you to you too. Again, I hope to see you guys in the finals. Goodbye, everyone.
Yeah, goodbye,
Cheers, buddy.
Clark. Well done. Super. What a great kid.
Man, what a good kid, man. What an amazing effort there from him. I mean, his knowledge of the circuit was pretty much matched with, I would say, even with myself. I mean, I had to go and research bits and pieces. He was pulling names and corner names like he'd been there and done that himself, and had spent as much time as our good friend Sabine Rick and Sabine Schmidt had.
Well, I tell you, he knows the circuit a lot better than I know the circuit. But I think it's just wonderful to have, a young person like Clark at such a tender age, got such a passion for the sport, wants to learn the history about it as well. That's really, really important, I think, for the future of all forms of motorsport, Greg, is to have that enthusiasm, learn about circuits, learn about the history of the motor racing, whether it's MotoGP, whether it's superbikes, whether it's Formula One, whether it's endurance cars, whether it's touring cars. try and absorb as much knowledge as possible. It just makes your life a little bit easier, especially when you get into conversation with people at airports.
Yeah, that's another point that he's probably going to have to get used to as well, is those scenarios where you're walking in the middle of the shopping mall and they come up and they go, Sasha Montenegro, do you think Ferrari's going to win on Saturday?
Thank goodness for this social distancing. I could say, sorry, can't talk, you're too close, bye-bye.
Yeah, you're too close, exactly. Well, we've got the social distancing right here, as you can see, 1.5 meters between Sash and I, probably about 1.9 meters between our fellow commentators this evening for the commentator search. That's number 2 in the bag there from the young man, 11 years old, Clark King. I think he did an incredible job, and there was a lot of interaction on my page stating bits and pieces of how they thought a youngster can have that amount of knowledge and portray it with such confidence. So, yeah, well done to the young man. That's a great effort. We head off now into heat number 3, Sash. And before we introduce our next competitor, of course, is being lined up in the background by EFX, our production team. Looking at that next heat, there's certainly a couple of big contenders in this one. The likes of Jordan Sherritt, who, of course, finished on full points last night, but then was penalized for some altercation he made. So it dropped him down slightly from the full points of 50 that he scored in the quarters. All of those points, yet again, if you've just joined us, to remind you, are now null and void. They score 0 tonight, and from race 1, 2, and 3 is where they actually put the points on the board. So we've already got guys like Jason Absmeyer and Leslie Oliphant on 25 points each, Mitchell Lyson and Christopher Langeveld, who are on 22, and 20s with Woody and with Julian Familiaris. But there is the heat we're talking about now. Heat 3, Rob Whiting, Jordan Sherritt, Wesley Ferrant, Yuri Swart, Lorenzo Gutteri, Anthony Garnham, Corne Briet. Those first names that I've just mentioned were all in the thick of it last night, properly.
Very much so, Greg. And, even just going further down, you got Chris Heineke, Bertus Janssen van Rensburg, Brandon Kruger, Zander Roots, Blake Kruger, Charles Wilkin, Davide Favo, Brett Lindsay Ray, Damien Halkett, Waldo Swickers, Wesley Delport, Lyle Ramsey, who must be still spinning from all of the spins he had last night, and Sean Hodge. Anybody can do something special here this evening in this heat. That's for sure. Without a doubt, it's going to be very difficult to call a winner.
Yeah, it is. It's going to make it exceptionally difficult for us to call the winner on this one, because it is kind of the most competitive group, I would have to say. Other thing to take into account here, of course, is a lot of these guys had work to do today and would have only got a few hours in to get the practice sessions done. And it's crucial when you're driving a car like this with the amount of power it's got. And once again, a reminder to everybody else that's in the viewing audience this evening is these cars do take strain in terms of tire wear, engine wear. They have to work out what the fuel capacity is that they're going to need, and they may try and run it to the limit so that they lighten that car as much as possible. It's a fixed setup. And, of course, the temperature and everything around them is not going to change from ambient point of view. We've gone with a fixed temperature as opposed to what we did down under, where we gave them the option where the weather could play a factor.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you've got to try and make it as fair for everybody. But, Greg, just watching some of the onboard footage of the drivers, those cars are getting properly sideways. The guys are really holding on for dear life. And it just shows they've got tremendous amount of experience, never mind just around Neuschleifer, but of sim racing themselves. And they understand the characteristics of cars. Doesn't matter which car you're in. If all of a sudden you hit that throttle too hard and you feel the back going, you know exactly how to correct it. So, I mean, the quality and the caliber of driving is exceptional and extremely high quality.
Yeah, it has been, that is for sure. And the one lovely aspect about what we've seen so far in all of the e-races that we've done, the one at Kyalami, the Intercontinental Challenge, and so far up to date, and I touch wood when I say that, is the ability of these drivers to race and play fairly. And I think that's a crucial point to what we're seeing here. 6:45 out of Sherritt, so not quite as fast as what we saw out of Oliphant. It's about a second off Oliphant's pace. He's currently setting the fastest lap of the evening. But look at that. Gutteri's there, and Whiting, and Kruger. And remember, the two Kruger boys are in this heat together as well. So the two brothers fighting hard. One of them qualifies for the Volkswagen Award if he does make it to the top tomorrow night. The other one, Blake, I'm not sure. I didn't get an answer from the parents, but maybe they can pass it on via all the social media platforms that we are going out on. But I know Brandon definitely qualifies and could potentially be winning that Volkswagen award.
Yeah, wonderful stuff to have them. Here we go. This is our car numbers for you. Valdez Sweekers, Lyle Ramsey, Wesley Farrant, Bertus Janssen van Rensburg, Jordan Sherritt, Robert Whiting, Cornet Breert, Anthony Gannon, Charles Wilkin, and Yuri Swart. Those are your first 10, Greg.
Beg your pardon, yes, indeed. And then you've got Sean Hards and Brett Lindsay Ray, Wesley Dalport and Chris Heineke. That's 11, 12, 13, and 14. Damien Halkiet there in 15, 16 is under Roots. Lorenzo Gutteri in 17, Davide Fabo in 18, Brandon Kruger in 19, and Blake Kruger in 20. So the brothers there in 19 and 20 side-by-side numbers. That might be a good omen for them. Speaking of good omens, no, you go ahead.
Yeah, yesterday I think they were 11 and 12, so they can't shake away from each other.
And they were in the mix together too, which was really good. So let's see if they do some more here. Speaking of doing some more, it's time to introduce our next competitor in the semi-final for the commentator search as well. And It's going to give me great pleasure to bring you the third competitor this evening for heat number 3. And that is a young man by the name of Craig Eco. Craigie, are you with us?
Yes, I'm with you guys. Thank you so much for having me. Pity that Sasha and I are Ferrari guys and we have to watch Porsches all evening. But anyway, we do what we can do.
That's 3 of us that are Ferrari guys, eh? You haven't seen the Tifosi flag above my head, have you? Maybe I need to show you that later.
Don't worry, Craig. You've got to give everybody else a chance as well.
There you go. I'll send a photo quickly for you, Craig, so you can see what I'm talking about.
Fantastic.
Craig, where's your love from motorsport come from?
Yeah, basically, loved motorsport since I was young. Been racing since I was about 13 in karts. Managed to do some VW Challenge as well. You can see my helmet still behind me there. So yeah, I've just been a huge fan all the time, and now to get into commentary is something that I've always been interested in, but never known how. Listening to Greg always commentating on the VW Challenge races was always good. So nice to be here.
It's great to have you here, bud. I've got to say, stepping up from the racing world, it's always nice to have that.
And when these cars go under braking, then they recharge these batteries and gives you more power. And that's how they regenerate it. But I don't know, Craig, if you know from the steering wheel how they actually do that. Do you have any idea?
Yeah, look, I mean, all these guys have pretty decent rigs. It all comes down to what they call key binding. So they can basically bind a whole bunch of keys on the steering wheel. So they never really take their hands off the steering wheel. And you can see, especially with all the sideways action, you don't want to take your hands off the steering wheel. So they just change a little. They've got a button mapped for ERS deployment or KERS deployment, and they change that throughout the lap.
Okay, thank you for letting me know.
Ever so slightly on one point there. You have got Lorenzo Gutteri involved in this heat. And of course, coming from his family, they love to drive with one arm out the window.
I haven't seen anyone with the top off on these 918s.
Yeah, from your side, though, your racing career has been pretty cool. But take us through a little bit of the action that you experienced with Volkswagen Challenge, because that category in its own right have a lot of competitors joining us this evening from that class who have either gone on to other things or have stuck around with that class. But there's a lot of guys from Volkswagen Challenge who are watching tonight. And unfortunately, one that I want to mention, and I know hasn't been able to make it back, is Stuart Mack. And he's a seasoned campaigner in that on both the organizational side as well as the racing.
Yeah, it's great to see, the new guy, well, the real racers mix it up with the sim racing guys. And good to see a lot of my old buddies racing. Lyle Ramsey, I used to race with in Class B. So it's nice to see him up there. Obviously, it would have been nice for Stewie to actually been racing. I mean, he has got the sim. I don't know why. Maybe he's just embarrassed because he's a bit slow. But yeah, it's nice to see all the guys joining the e-racing guys.
Craig, we've got quite a lineup of drivers in our third semi-final here tonight. Anybody that you might sit there and tip for victory?
I think your money's got to be on Jordan Sherritt tonight. I think he's been the quickest pretty much throughout this whole event. He knows this track really well. So my money's on him. This actual heat has got all the top guys in pretty much, so it's going to be a really cracking one. We got the Kruger boys. They had an epic battle last night while I was watching. They were absolutely mental. So going to be a great race. I don't know where we're going to have to look, because there's just going to be action aplenty.
Okay, so it looks like I'm just getting information coming through to us, which we have to keep an eye on all the time. So apologies for the little delay, but there seems to be a little bit of a problem there with one of the servers. As soon as that server is back up, we're going to go straight to race action. But also just gives us a chance to go through once again, Sash, the important factor that's going to be happening through the next 2 days. We've got race action tonight up until about 10 o'clock this evening, and that will be with all the semifinals. We're about to finish up the first part of semifinals with Heat 3 of semifinal 1. Then we're going to have Heat 1, 2, and 3 of semifinal 2, and basically from there, you're going to be looking to get those points in the bag to move on to tomorrow night's all-important plate final for 21st to 40th, or the top 20 moving into the grand final.
Yeah, I mean, Greg, if you look at all of these heats, we're into semi-final with the Porsche, the final heat. Anybody who's in the top 5 out of these first 3 heats, they need to ensure that they top 5 again tomorrow to get into the grand final. The people who are 5th to 10th, they want to make sure that they stay 5th to 10th in their second semi-final in the Zonda, so that they can also be in the plate final. But thereafterwards, those guys who are sitting in 11th to 15th, they really, really have to push hard in order to try and get themselves into that top 40 for tomorrow evening. Yeah.
Craig, from your side, just a quick query. If you look at what we've done with the 3 Solidarity races that we've done so far, I'm sure you watched Army. You saw what was happening with all the action that happened, of course, at the Intercontinental Challenge. And now, heading into the Nordschleifer affair, the prize fund just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And with the sponsors we've got involved, it's so nice to see that for a change, motorsport competitors are being rewarded financially as well as with some incredible prizes for a long time. It doesn't happen in circuit racing.
Yeah, look, I mean, I competed in both the first 2 rounds of the Solidarity E-Race and really had fun. I just wasn't quick enough around the Nordschleifer to actually to compete, so I just thought, let me just save my name a bit. But for all these sponsors to come on board and to really back all these guys, it's really great. I mean, NEC, Data Sciences Group, True Race, AfriHost, and Pure Storage, thank you so much, because it's very rare, as you say, Greg, to see this even in live South African motorsport prize money, even from racing myself. All my friends would say, how much money do you get for winning? And you kind of have to go, well, kind of for pride. So to actually have real physical prize money and prizes is great. It's great stuff.
I'm glad you said that. I think a lot of people all think that the world of motor racing is just huge amounts of prizes. When people do ask, how much is your prize money? You say, no, how much did I pay this weekend to go racing? And winning the race was just, well, I suppose, a little bit of pride. But it's wonderful that people still go out and do it, Craig, because, it is essential that motorsport still survives, and we have lots and lots of on-track action, off-track action, karting, bikes, you name it. We need it to flourish again.
And more importantly, don't forget, Craig, when you go to certain circuits, they give you a really nice trophy as well, eh?
Yes, I love the Swartkops ones. The Swartkops ones are always the best.
Yeah, they are. Swartkops really goes all out. Specifically, Sash, as you would know, at the first event of the year, when they do the Passion for Speed Festival, they try and make something quite unique to give to the international guests. So it gives those guys a chance to go home with like a wooden warthog or a metal and bead giraffe, or like a really tricked out iron made out of glass. It's really, really awesome.
Yeah, listen, I mean, motorsport is a true love. There's the classic saying, Greg and Craig, how do you become a millionaire in motorsport? And the answer is start with $1 billion. That's how easy it is.
That's pretty much. Yeah, that's another one coming from our director saying there's no money in motorsport, but they've taken all of mine. And I think that's exactly what a lot of people can feel when you're in the situation. Craig, your racing career, you've kind of backed your own race car and race career there. A couple of sponsors thrown on the car here and there, but I think it's quite important. And it's something that a lot of banter happened sort of in and out of racing in the real world when this lockdown happened. And that's the point that sponsors still need to leverage what they've put into events. But without those events happening, what do?
Yeah, that's the trick question. A sponsor always wants to see good return on their investment. So that's the main appeal. And with something like this, we all at home, we all in lockdown, but we're still managing to get the sponsors coverage and airtime. So I think it's great.
Yeah, well, listen, I must say it's wonderful to have you along for our ride. We're going to get into our servers. Apparently seem to be back up. And hopefully cross over to some action to see what's actually on the track. I think there they are. They are ready for the race start. Is that correct? Wow.
Yeah, we're going straight into race start. So I'm going to leave you in the capable hands there of Sasha Martinengo, Craig. I'll jump in with any pertinent information or if I see anything that might be happening. But, of course, as you know, it's line astern. They're at the 2K mark. There's a kilometre to go before they drop the hammer. And it is Jordan Sherritt, the man that you touted, who could possibly win this on pole position as they head down to where the green flag will fly for the first time.
Yeah, here we are. It is semi-final number 3, the legendary Nordschleifer, the Green Hell, the Porsche 918, Jordan Sherritt in pole position. He has been mega throughout this whole weekend. They go line astern. Craig, to start off this race, just about going racing.
Yep, they're just about to go racing, and I think, the best thing to do is just to keep it clean, keep it on the track, keep it on the black stuff, and there we go. You can see them accelerating now. Jordan Sherritt, he's just going to get his head down, build that gap so that he hasn't got anyone, on his tail who could actually perhaps cause an accident or anything like that. It seems to be quite a clean start though, Sasha.
Very clean start there. He's got a little bit of a gap, but Charles Wilkin very close to him. They've left Rob Whiting behind. Lorenzo Gautieri, I nearly call him Luigi, up in 4th place, and he's got Yuri Swart right on the back of him as well. I tell you, this is going to be really, really tight. Craig, difficult to overtake, but you've got to take your opportunity where you can.
Yeah, this track is really bumpy. The undulation doesn't lend itself to, late braking maneuvers. We see Wesley Ferrant also up in 7th there. He's also one to watch. He's 0.3 behind Graham. So this is going to be really tight. These oaks are pinned to each other's backsides at the moment.
Yeah, here we go, on board with Lorenzo Gautieri. He had a great race last night. Look at the way of the car, and it shudders even with your foot flat on the pedal. Late on the brakes there, he's chasing down Rob Whiting. And I tell you, Charles Wilkin is right in the back of Jordan Sherritt as well, which is terrific stuff. We've got a change at position number 17. Delport has got ahead of Favo.
Yeah, no, this is great stuff. If Charles Wilkin just can stay on the back of Sherritt, I think that's going to be a great battle. Charles Wilkin, he's no slouch either. We saw him in the first 2 Solidarity E-races also having to pace. Oh, someone's off in the background there. I don't know who that was.
Oh, he's off again.
Rick.
Yeah, it is Brett who's gone off. He's going to lose a few places over there. I mean, it's so easy to make a mistake here, Craig. Was exceptionally twitchy. It was Wesley Ferrant. Can you believe it? He's now in 9th position. His cars are incredibly twitchy, and now he'll have some damage to the vehicle as well.
Yeah, damage, definitely. You can see the bonnet flapping in the wind there. Wesley Ferrant, obviously the guy that we commentated on to get into this thing, was rooting for him, but it looks like he's going to struggle for the rest. Zonda Root's also coming up there. He also started way down, already up till 10th. That's good to see him up there. Volterri also seems to be hanging on to Rob Whiting in 3rd place.
Well, I tell you, Charles Wilkin or Jordan Sherritt, I think, has really put his foot down. He's got a massive gap now on Charles Wilkin, 2.7 seconds. And Rob Whiting now on the back of Charles Wilkin at the moment. But Gautieri now on the back of Whiting as well. So Whiting seems to be struggling a little bit. Let's see what happens. Gautieri is really on it. A terrific drive the other yesterday, and really loves this circuit as well. Behind him, it's Yuri Swart, then Gunham, Britt, and the first of the Krugers in 8th position.
Yes, Sasha, this is where Kurz is really coming into play here. So, Whiting could be saving his Kurz, biding his time, maybe waiting for lap 2, whereas Gualtieri is on a more aggressive mode, so that's why he's got the pace. So this is going to play out very interesting to who's saving battery. I think Sherritt's also turned the heat up on his electric motors just to break that gap to Wilkin.
Yeah, very, very good observation there, Craig. That could well be it. And so if Gautieri is turning the wick up on his Kurz, he definitely has to make it and pass Whiting. Otherwise, Whiten comes smoking past him down the long straight as well. Going into the left-hander, the carousel, just wonderful to see the grip of these cars. But really, second, third, fourth, fifth, really pretty close to each other. And still got at least about 30 odd kilometers to go.
Yeah, no, this is great, and haven't been seen much off-track drama as yet. Everyone seems to be keeping on, but remember we said that most of these guys in this heat are pretty experienced. They are the top guys, so it's good to see quite a clean race. All the cars squirreling around. Not many people using too much of the curves, because these curves, as you can see, are high. So you want to try and stay away from them where you can, because they can upset the car quite a bit.
Yeah, you don't want those kind of issues, to get you unbalanced as well, especially when somebody's very, very close to you. Craig, it's all about scoring the points as well. Ideally you want to be in the top 5 in each of these heats this evening to get into that position to be in the top 20 for the finals tomorrow. But also mentally, we're still in the early parts of this race as we're on board with Robert Whiting chasing down Charles Wilkin. So, this is another fascinating race. But mentally, Craig, you really got to have your wits about you. You've got to be able to see what's in front of you and behind you.
That's the thing, Stash. And like they always say, to finish first you got to finish. And that's the thing. It's just remember, it's only a semi-final. It's not the final yet. So you just want to bring it home, get those valuable points. You don't want to try anything too risky and chuck it all away. Because we've seen guys stopping on track, and that's actually due to corner cutting and stuff. We saw it happen to Brummer in the previous round, where they actually have to stop to get a time penalty for cutting corners. So you don't want to pick up any of those. You want to keep it clean and just bring it home in that top 5.
Yeah, I tell you, still on board with Robert Whiting, but I can tell you further down the track, Briat has lost 3 positions, dropped down from 7th to 10th. So I don't know what kind of issue he had there. But we're still on board with Robert Whiting chasing down Charles Wilkin, and all of a sudden pulling Lorenzo Gautieri closer to them as well. And I'll tell you, Yuri Swart not far back as well. Bringing up the rear, we've got Valdo Swiggers, one of our sponsors, still doing a great job. Got ahead of Davide Favo, and Favo, unfortunately, not having a great race. Did very, very well in the quarters yesterday. Here we go, Rob Whiting. Going to be going down the straight. Can he drive down to the inside? But they've got a tight left-hander. I tell you, Wilkin going to be pushing as hard as he's got through on Wilkin. There we go, he's got through. Great, brilliant driving from Rob Whiting.
Yes, that's exactly what we said. I wonder if he just used that Kerr's deployment on that long straight just to get that slipstream and that extra boost and just sailed past Wilkin. So this is a great move by Whiting. I don't know if he'll be able to catch up to Sherritt, who seems to be in the distance in the forest already. But good battle. Gautieri seems to be coming along now as well in 4th. So this is going to be very, very interesting for this 2nd place.
Yeah, and I tell you, we're getting into the 2nd lap as well. Terrific pass there from Whiting on Wilkin. But it all depends. Who's got curves? Who's got electric energy for the rest of those? Oh, proper sideways there from Charles Wilkin. Could open up a little bit of a gap for Lorenzo Gautieri. Not an easy place to overtake right here. But I tell you, Gautieri will be saying, I'll put pressure on Wilkin. He'll make a mistake.
Yep, and here they head through what they call Fluxplatz, is where it actually used to be a small airfield, and that's where you see the cars lifting off the ground. So one of the most famous corners in the Nordschleife. That's obviously where we saw that horrible accident, Sasha, a couple of years ago, where unfortunately those spectators were killed. So very, very risky part of the circuit. You want to keep it on the track there. But this, just look on board. These guys are just working so hard to keep it on the track. You can hear them feathering the throttle all the time, on the brakes squirrely. And this is just so exciting.
It's just brilliant driving as well. I mean, the caliber and the quality of our sim drivers in the Solidarity E-Race brought to you by Seagate is exceptional. Every single one. And look at the speed they're coming down that slope. Brilliant stuff to see. Gautieri chasing Wilkin. And I tell you, we've got Rob Whiting just ahead of them as well. But Jordan Sherritt looking the class of the field, as he has done most of the weekend so far, as through all of the events. Really, really solid around the circuit, Craig.
Yeah, no, he's been class. I mean, all these guys are class, as you say, but Sherritt's just got that little edge on everyone, it seems. Gautieri now also closing up. We see Ferrand, who went off.
Oh, big mistake.
There. I wonder if that's one of the Krugers. Janse van Rensburg was off. Giving the place to Kruger now.
Yeah, one of the Krugers. That's Brendan Kruger. There we go. He's up into 11th place. He's Brad Kruger up in 7th place. That's where you want to be. A little bit of a gap now between Wilkin and Whiting. But who's that going off? That is Brandon Kruger going off. He has just made that position up on Van Rensburg. Looks like Van Rensburg's going to come past him. Or a little bit of Porsche slamming with each other. Is that allowed, Craig?
Oh, that's a bit frowned upon, but we'll let it go. We'll turn a blind eye. I don't know about the stewards though, but we saw the Krugers yesterday doing this in their heat, so we knew it was going to happen. It looks like now it's going to be Kruger and Janse van Rensburg who are going to battle. We're going to hop back board to Galtieri, who's closing in on Wilkin. I wonder if Wilkin's also managing his ERS as well, but this is turning out to be a good battle, maybe with Galtieri and Wilkin.
Yeah, it really is. These guys want the points. We go back to Jordan Sherritt right at the front there. He's got a good 4.4 second lead over Rob Whiting. He's just got to keep it clean. He doesn't even have to push it really hard. But as a racing driver, sometimes if you go slower, that's when you make the mistakes. So I think he'll be going as fast as he feels comfortable.
Just to jump in here quickly, guys, let's have a look at those top drivers as well. Sherritt, Whiting, Wilkin, Swart, Galtieri, top 5, all real races. And if you remember what Lorenzo Galtieri said in his interview, when the cars start to misbehave like they do, that's where the real racers might have a little bit of an edge over the gamers.
Yeah, I tell you, Lorenzo Galtieri made a big mistake. He was right in the back of Charles Wilkin. Now he's behind Yuri Swart, and the two of them are 7 seconds behind Charles Wilkin. So easy to make a mistake, Craig.
Yeah, and with not much of the lap to go, you don't want to be doing that. Galtieri really, he's going to be kicking himself for making that mistake. And it goes back to just keeping it on the track. I mean, he's well within the top 5. Just bring it home now. You don't want to chuck it away too much and damage the car. So Wesley Ferrand also coming up now. He's been chipping away at Kruger. And let's see if he can make the move before the end of the race.
Yeah, let's see if he can make up for a little bit of an error earlier on. So he wants to get up as close to that top 5 as possible, get as many points as possible. It seems to have leveled itself out quite a bit at the moment. The real battle at the moment, Galtieri's lost a lot of time to Yuri Swart. It's Ferrand versus Kruger. That's what we are watching at the moment. We've probably got about 10 kilometers left of the Neutschleife until the end of this lap. Jordan Sherritt in the lead. Charles Wilkin 1.8 seconds behind Rob Whiting in 3rd place. But the battle here, Ferrand versus Kruger.
Yeah, this is getting exciting now as you see them come through there. And I wonder who's going to... there's another battle behind there. That's Breed and Roots. He's through.
And Ferrand's got through. Yeah, Kruger made a mistake. Wesley Ferrand has come through. Zander Roots has got through on Brett as well. So it is all happening in the final stages. Here we got Roots right on the back of Kruger.
Oh, this is turning out to be such a good battle down the midfield. It's funny how the midfield always seems to be the great battles, and Kruger's just hanging on to Ferrand at the moment, but he seems to be dropping back a little bit, 0.6 now. This is going to be such a great battle to the end of the race. I want to see what's going to happen when they get to that long straight. Who's going to get the slipstream? Are they going to dive right at the beginning and do that switch around slipstream where you could get caught out? So you don't want to do it too early. So you just got to bide your time and wait for the right time to make the move.
Yeah, the main thing about getting onto that main straight is getting a great exit and being as close as possible. As you can see here, Brett is just a little bit too far behind. That was Brett very, very close to Roots, but Kruger just a little bit too far behind Ferrand. Look at them going sideways, both of those cars, like four-wheel drifting as they come into the long straight. Here you go, Craig. This is where it's about. This is where it's going to all end up.
Yeah, so this is Roots and Brett now. This is what I was talking about, the slipstream. You can see Zonda ahead, he's weaving. He's trying to weave to break the slipstream. Can you believe it? We've seen these eSport guys. Sherritt's taking the win already. No, he's taking the win. Sure. Don't worry.
And, so you called it, hey? Nice one, Craigie. Nice one. Not a bad effort there. Called the race winner from the start.
And I'm going to buy a lotto ticket tonight.
Yeah.
Lovely work.
You got
Well done,
5 minutes to do it.
Let's see if Roots and Breed, what's going to happen there for that battle for 10th. Oh, here they come round. Nah, it's going to stay. Breed's got the jump on the last corner. Can you believe that?
Unbelievable stuff there from Brett. Whoa, got so excited.
That's what happens at the end of a sim race.
Yes.
Let's see some donuts, boys.
Don't try that with your dad's car. Sure. Excellent stuff there, Craig. What a fabulous event. What a fabulous race.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah,
I've
that
got
was
to say.
a great race.
Craigie, great commentary. Well done for your first live event as well. It's not always easy to jump into the commentator seat, and I can tell you from experience, to jump in and have to go live to almost 4,500 people watching from all around the world is also a pretty daunting task. So I think you handled yourself really nicely, and I'm sure Sasha will agree, having been in the commentary full-fledged with you.
Yeah, wonderful stuff, Craig. Great to have you on board. Excellent input from you as well, and yeah, congratulations. Well done. Great fun.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. And hi, Ma. I'm on TV. And yeah, thank you.
That's how things are going to work. Sash, from a racing point of view, that now gives us the first semi-finals in the bag in the Porsche 918. We've got Whiting, Oliphant, and Absmeyer. All of them, except, well, Rob Whiting's got a bit of karting experience as well, but 2 dedicated sim racers at the top of the field so far. But if you look at the mix, there is a huge amount of mix-up between the sim racers and the real racers, again, as we've seen at every one of the Solidarity E-races we've had so far.
Yeah, Greg. I mean, it's you know, don't forget the real racers maybe have a little bit of an edge because they know the real dynamics of a car in terms of the feel of what it's all about. But you know, they're all in the sim world, and this is what it's all about. So I think it's been brilliant driving from all of these drivers, sim racers, or just normal racing drivers as well. So very impressed with the standard, especially in these high performance cars. I mean, those are very, very difficult cars to handle at the best of times, and you can see the guys getting properly sideways, cross steering wheels, and you know, they're beginning to understand. Or they completely understand, you know, the oversteer characteristics, understeer characteristics, what they have to do in order to get the car back into a straight line.
That is exactly right. And it's so important to bring that in all the time and keep reiterating it, because I think a lot of people that are watching are going, yeah, but it's just a game. It actually isn't. If you look at what the guys have got and the money they spent to get those setups right, so that it actually feels almost exactly the same as what it would feel if you were sitting in that 918 going around the Nordschleife. Some of these guys have got force feedback on their pedals. They've got force feedback in the steering wheels. They can actually get the whole look and feel of the bumps as they go through. And all of that comes into play because it does certainly help you get everything set up. With the way things have been set up for this event, remember, we are on a fixed setting. So there's not a lot they can do in terms of the modifications, which I think has also been a win in bringing both of the categories that don't usually race against each other, and I'm talking about real world versus sim world, on a level playing field now. And that's why you're getting to see now all of a sudden driver skill becoming a big factor.
Yeah, and also I think, Greg, you know, you've got guys who've spent hours and hours of sim racing who play in leagues, and then you've got just people who play at home and said, oh man, what is the Solidarity E-race? Let me get involved in it. And that's what they've done, and now they are part of it. So I think, you know, without making it too complicated, those who've got so much experience, which will change the tire pressure on the one tire as opposed to you know, the front left compared to the rear left. You know, try and make it as simple as possible so that everybody has a decent chance. But Greg, I want to go to the commentator search, because I tell you what we've had so far is phenomenal. You know, everyone has submitted their entries commentating on a piece that we've heard commentary on, and they've had to do their own thing. But now in the live situation, these 3 that we've had so far, phenomenal, fantastic. What a brilliant effort by all of them. I'm so impressed.
I have to agree, Sash, and I've got to say on top of that it's always a little bit easier to get that video footage, look at it, have a chance to look at it 3 or 4 times, record, stop, record again, stop, record again, and get that exactly right, perfect commentary to a voiceover. Because that's what they did. They did a voiceover of a piece that we supplied. Now, when you're live and having to react to stuff happening in front of you on screen, you have to have your wits about you. And I do. I echo you in saying, yeah, congratulations to our first three. They were really, really spectacular. We've still got three to come. And maybe it's a good chance now, as we're about to go onto the circuit for heat number 4. It's heat 1 of the semi-final number 2, though. It's our 4th heat of racing tonight. But also a completely changed up motor car. We're going into the Zonda R. And before we bring the Zonda R in as our new car, let's bring in Mr. Michael Ellett as our 4th semi-finalist in the commentator search. Mike, how are you feeling, bud?
No, good. Thanks very much for having me on tonight.
Terrific, Michael. Congratulations for number 1, sending your entry through. And then, of course, for being with us here tonight. Really, really exciting stuff.
No, absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Mike, your experience in racing, and of course now coming across into the commentator studio. Take us through where you've come from and what you've been up to in the past.
Yeah, so I've been exposed to motorsport pretty much my whole life, predominantly from a spectator point of view. And then also been involved in a little bit of grassroots four-stroke karting, which has been great fun. So yeah, pretty much had it around my entire life. It's been great.
Ah, wonderful, man. I tell you, once it's in your blood, it's in your blood. Now you're going to chance your arm at a little bit of commentating here this evening. You've been following some of the races, been some terrific action.
Absolutely, and I think this next heat is going to be quite spectacular. Because something that I've just noted that 13 drivers in this heat have finished outside the top 10 in their first respective heat. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be quite frantic to see what some of the guys can do to try and get themselves back into contention.
Mike, what I'm going to do is just give you an opportunity, Brent, if you wouldn't mind. We need to just pull up the screen for this heat because there were a few changes in the interim due to the fact that we had some drivers in Heat 3 and in Heat 4. So, in other words, semi-final Heat 3 and then semi-final 2 Heat 1. There was a bit of a mix-up earlier on, and I know that I sent out the list earlier on to you guys, but there is a slight difference in terms of that. So, as you can see there, Eli Vergara, Elton Bowe, James Leach, Ian Upton, Peter Geldenhuys, then it's Richard van Heerden. You can see who he's changed up with Adrian Wood. You've got Mark van Rensburg in there, Dwayne van Schalkwyk, Darren Peens, and you can see he's been moved out, as you can see. Well, no, he's actually still there. I'm just double-checking that we've got the right list there as well from our side. I think there's a change up there. Yeah. There's a new one that's been put out, so just give us a sec there, Mike. It might give you a chance just to make some notes. I know that we had a couple of guys that were in semi-final Heat 3 of semi-final 1, and then again in semi-final 2 Heat 1. And that wouldn't work because, as you know, with the way the game's worked over the last couple of nights, the qualifying session happens during the race. So you can't be in both of them at the same time. So we did have to do a bit of a shuffle around with some of the names. So I know Brendan's looking for that email. I'm going to pull up the new list, but there is definitely a new list for Heat 1, 2, and 3, which is different to what I've sent you earlier on there, Mike. So I do apologize for that. But this is what happens on the fly. Sometimes these things are not exactly what they are. So there, that is that the new list there, Brent? I think it might be. This is the one. Yeah, this is the one that they sent to us with the race numbers on it as well, though. So what I'll do, Mike, is I will send it through to you from the management page through to the commentary page, so you don't have to write it down. I'll just WhatsApp it to you, and then you'll have the numbers and the names involved in this one. As you can see, it's saying Jason Absmeyer top of the list so far in the Zonda with a 6-minute 51. Holy moly, that's good. 6:31. This is a race car, so it would not fit into what would be known as a road-going car. But a 6:31, I think, is the fastest lap we've had all week.
That's an exceptional time. I mean, listen, this car also one of the most magnificent sounding cars in the world. The Zonda, the Pagani Zonda R. I mean, it's really, really right up there with the Maserati MC12 when it comes to a sound of a car. But I mean, it looks like a little bit like the Zonda F, Greg, but I mean, it's only 10% of the same car. So, I mean, this is a proper track day car, and you can see that it's built for it just looking at the times that the guys are setting.
So from your side of things there, Mr. Elliott, what do you think the money should be placed on it now that you've seen the list? You've got Absmeyer, Van Rensburg, Wood, Piazza Musso, Tennyson and Rowe. 3 of those drivers you'll recognize from the real world of racing, and 3 others will come from the sim world. So it's a bit of a mix-up again.
Yeah, absolutely, Greg. I was actually just going to comment on that. I think what's great about this heat in particular is that you've got such a nice mix of top real-life races as well as the top sim races as well. Guys like Daniel Rowe, Adrian Wood, Devin Piazza Musso, they're going to have a point to prove against the sim racers such as Jason Absmeyer. But my money's definitely going to be on Jason Absmeyer. I mean, he's been so consistent throughout the entire series there.
Yeah, it's looked very, very strong. Sure. Yeah, Greg, I know, they look magnificent. I'm going to let you and Michael handle this because I've just got something that I need to attend to rather urgently. So when we go to our live pictures, if you don't mind, I've just got to attend to something during the course of this one. But Absmeyer, Van Rensburg, it's one of those again, Greg. If Absmeyer gets the long shot at the start, it's going to be very difficult to catch him.
Thank you, Sash. Yeah, I think what we'll do is I'll just wait for them to roll out and then, of course, give Michael and myself a chance to take you through heat number 1 of semi-final 2. Mike, you've got the new list in front of you there. Looks like it's going to be a bit of a gunfight there amongst sort of guys who could be touted as the usual contenders in Solidarity E-Race, because there's a couple of guys who've done all 3. There's a couple of newcomers thrown into the mix as well. There are going to be possibilities of some thorns in the side.
Absolutely, and I think Jason Absmeyer is probably going to want to try and get out in front, and get away from what could be a little bit of carnage, because he's going to want to keep a clean pair of heels.
It certainly is.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Absmeyer's got to try and stick with what's happened so far. Because remember, if you look at the points scored so far, he is one of the guys who didn't quite make it, and possibly would be sadly missing out on a chance of scoring 50 points in total last night. But tonight, that could happen. And of course, if you've got 50 points in the bag by the end of one of these heats, you are guaranteed a slot in the top 20.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and of course, that's the. Yeah, sorry, Michael. That's exactly what you're looking for. That's why a top 5 placing is where you want to be. So those who have already had their first heat earlier on this evening, Greg, they know what they have to do in order to get into that grand final or into the plate final or nothing.
Absolutely, and also don't rule out guys like Christopher Langeveld, who obviously finished second in his first heat. I think he'll definitely also be up there. Let's just hope he can get a decent qualifying time in.
Well, qualifying happening at the moment. You can see it out on track. Maybe we want to go to that, Brent, until they finish up as the Zonda R makes its way down that Audi Sports straight. Zonda R, Sash, just before you rock and roll, you've got all the stats on that car. What would the top end of this car be? I know that I've got a map in front of me saying the Porsche 918 would be about 290 k's an hour down this straight. What would the Zonda be doing at the top end?
Well, I mean, the Zonda going down, I don't know if it would achieve it at Nordschleife itself, but on this long straight, its top end is 335. I just don't know if there's enough, if it's long enough for it to get to that 335. But I mean, this is a beast of a car, 6-liter V12. I mean, light as a feather, just magnificent. Sounds like, just, I don't know, the earth swallowing you up. But magnificent vehicle as well. What a privilege to drive one of these cars. Man, I'm jealous.
Mike, from your side, it's a way that In Solidarity Races worked. Basically saying, that we want to change things up as to how it normally works in the sim racing world. We don't want to just have the league stuff where you race the same car on the same track, or you race the same car on different tracks. We're playing around with one circuit and a whole different format of racing. Then we played with 6 circuits and 3 or 4 cars. Now we're playing with 6 cars and 1 circuit. So it changes all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Greg, I think one of the cool things about this format is that by the end of it all, the guy that wins is the guy that's been the most consistent, the guy that's been able to adapt to the different types of cars. And at the end of the day, the cars on the track might not be real, but the racing is still definitely real.
The racing is definitely real. We've seen that already, haven't we, Sasha Montenegro?
Yeah, it's been terrific racing. I mean, I cannot say it enough. So somebody who hasn't been on a sim before and driven around, in a game before, you don't understand how difficult it is to control these cars, even at a slow speed. And these guys are going flat out all of the time. So, I mean, the caliber is spectacular. It's really, really superb to watch.
Well, speaking of watching, we've got a whole bunch of guys who've joined on my feed. I don't know if that's joined on your feed, but to mention a few of them, two of them are some of SA's finest motorcycle riders ever. Peter Labuskachny and Pete Eckerold, who have joined us on the feed, watching a bit of four-wheeled action. Tyler Mullman out there as well. And, of course, a man who had in the studio with us for the quarterfinals, Stuart White. And I think Stuart White possibly wants to pass on a small apology to his good friend from last night for the antics that he got us to get involved in, which we didn't even know about, Thatcher, to be honest with you. But anyway, we're about to go racing.
Okay. Well, enjoy, guys. I'll be back with you shortly.
Brilliant stuff. So there we go. On to the track. Insulin on pole. Had to be with that lap time. And what's he going to be able to do now with this big pack? I think what I want to do here as well, Mike, is have a look at these cars. And are they going to have the same ability or possibly even more airtime over that little yump as they start the race?
Yeah, definitely. I know with these cars, there's a lot more downforce. So I think we'll definitely see quite a bit higher cornering speed. It's actually going to be quite entertaining to see them go through the carousels as well. But I believe there's quite a lot more downforce in these Pagani Zonda Rs.
Well, here we go, making their way down towards what will be the 3K board on the left-hand side, and a chance to get going now in full flight. Ulrich Ensling going to set the pace as he drops the hammer. He's going to be followed very, very quickly, and right behind him, there are four cars not letting him get away. One is Absmeyer, one is Ensling, one is Van Rensburg. So it's gamers up front, and looks like Langeveld might have just got the drop there as they went off the line, getting ahead of Absmeyer. So it's Langeveld from Absmeyer, Ensling and Van Rensburg, and you can see those cars, even with that downforce, getting huge airtime over the yump.
Absolutely, but wow, Greg, what an absolutely star-studded semi this is. Langeveld, Absmeyer, Ensling, Van Rensburg, Wood, Beatsamusa. I mean, those are all guys that are all capable of winning. And as you can see, it looks like quite a clean start. Oh, as I say, that commentator's code, someone's just gone off in the background. But out in front, it seems like quite a clean start there.
Yeah, it looks like it might be Noah Hendricks or, no, Daniel Rowe. Daniel Rowe having some problems. He's the man who dropped out and had a problem spinning out, and looks like James Leach might have been there with him. So two cars might have touched coming through that section. Now, under the Yokohama Bridge now, we are watching Daniel Rowe trying to recover and trying to get back at Darren Peens and Sas van der Merwe. And there's another car off right in front of us, and just off the shot of the camera. We got a car spinning out. Oh, and there was a touch between another one too.
Oh,
big incident, the two of them there. One is Van der Merwe. I think the other one might have been Rowe, but I'm just double checking. It could have been Sas van der Merwe. It's Van Heeren and Darren Peens. Those three cars coming together in a very precarious position there, buddy.
Absolutely, and that's definitely something that those guys definitely would have not wanted. All of those guys would have been looking for good results in this heat to give them any chance of going through. So real pity there.
Langeveld leads out though, 1.4 seconds up the road. We're looking at Insulin trying to close down on Jason Absmeyer. Absmeyer is in trouble. He's got his arch rival from the sim racing world on his tail. They're both trying to close down on Langeveld. He's opened up a small margin here on the first lap of two. Insulin now pushing it to the limit on the brake, and then just keep staying in that gear, maintaining good corner speed through there. Van Rensburg closing in on the two of them. Then it's Wood, Beatsamusa, and Kenneth. And these guys, well, they're not too far off the back end. There's only about a 5-second split between what is the battle for second place and the battle for ninth place. So it's a nice, evenly matched field here, and kind of what we expected there, Mark.
Absolutely, and especially these top four, they're not going to want to do anything risky. They've all had good results in their first semi-finals. They're going to want to keep it clean and just ensure that they get out of the line and into the grand final.
The grand final and points is what's up for grabs there, Michael. Exactly what you're saying. The more points they can score here to add to what they've already got on their tally for tonight is crucial. So you're going to see a slightly different strategy, I think, here, Michael, and what we're going to be talking about with the other two commentators later on this evening is the strategy change up here is to possibly survive and stay up as high as we can, as opposed to going for those dual dives that you would have done in the first heat.
Absolutely, and we're on board with Graham Tennyson, who finished 11th in his first heat, so maybe not quite what he was hoping for, and perhaps Devin Piazzamussa might be a little bit nervous, knowing that someone like Graham Tennyson, who's got quite a lot to prove, might be looking to make a move sometime this lap.
Well, there you got your first shot of them going through the carousel and having to be aware of the downforce, the splitters and the wings. Of course, those splitters at the back, and of course, the downforce mechanisms on these cars will definitely take damage if you throw them into the carousel too hard, or if you clip curbs around here. The one cool thing about sim racing, Mike, is what we've seen is it's very real to life in terms of the damage on the cars, the tyre wear, the fuel able to be carried, etc., etc.
Absolutely, yeah. The guys will be keeping all of those in mind. They don't want to overdo it, overcook the tyres on this first lap. I mean, it is a long lap. It's a lap that's over 20 kilometers long. So even though this race may only be 2 laps, it's still probably the length of a 10-lap race at any other ordinary circuit.
And now, speaking about that, what's the sort of theory with these drivers? That we talk about them having 2 laps of action here, a small break in proceedings to give them a chance to catch their breath and maybe get a drink in before the next heat. But the concentration levels, I think, the mental ability is probably going to be tested more than the physical ability here.
Oh yeah, definitely, and especially at a track like Nordschleife, which has got over 170 corners. There's never really a time to sort of ease off. I mean, even going down the Audi straight, the chances are very high that you are going to have someone all over the back of your car as well, and you're going to be thinking about whether to defend or whether to let off easy and then get into this slipstream. So, I mean, it's a continuous fight behind the wheel as well.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think these guys have got a continuous fight happening all the way through. They're not going to be able to do anything about what's happening around them in their rooms, wherever they are. If people are making phone calls now or asking them for coffee, I'll talk to you later. I'm going to concentrate on what I'm doing. Maybe they can speak a little bit when they're on the straight show, though, hey?
Absolutely. But going back to the action, Langerfeld leads from Absmeier just under 4 seconds there. Enslick is looking possibly for a move on Absmeier as well. But I think they are good mates from the sim racing world as well, so they wouldn't want to do anything to upset each other.
That's exactly it. Ensign coming from the sim racing world now and looking to try and emulate what he did at Kyle Army and the first Solidarity E-race that we held at the beginning of lockdown. And of course, all of this supporting all the efforts from the country to remain home and stay safe, and raising funds for the Solidarity Fund, courtesy of our sponsors Seagate, NEC, Pure Storage, Data Sciences, AfriHost, and True Race. I wanted to ask you, we played around with a little bit of sort of fun with the sponsors last night and giving each of the car colors an actual sponsor. What do you think is an important factor to try and retain your sponsors' interest at times like this, Mark?
Yeah, look, Greg, I think, just giving them as much screen time as possible, just trying to give as much coverage, because you've got to look after the guys that support the sport that maybe doesn't necessarily get all the support it deserves.
Yes, indeed. It's important to try and maintain and retain the partnership that you put together, not only from an event point of view like ours, but from your own personal point of view too. And all these drivers, of course, will be looking to shine for their own sponsors, give them the leverage that's required at this point in time. But at this point in time, Ulrich Ensslin is battling to close that gap down. It's only half a second to Absmeier, but Absmeier is just placing that car to perfection and not giving any room or any hint of an opportunity for Ensslin to pass him.
Absolutely, and Greg, I wouldn't be surprised if the two of them are actually working together. They've pulled off quite a nice gap over Van Rensburg, which is climbing ever so slightly. I mean, it's almost 5.5 seconds now. I think they'll be thinking to themselves, they've got a good podium here. They've got good points in the bag towards the grand final, and they wouldn't want to do anything risky.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought might happen here in these second semis. If the guys are in good positions and they realise the points that are going to be scored, they might not push it as hard as they can. But as I say that, have a look. If we get another style shot, and hopefully our director can find one, there you go. Have a look at the carbon fibre discs on those cars. That'll tell you that I'm probably talking absolute rubbish here. If they are pushing those cars way beyond the limit, if those carbon fibre discs are starting to heat up.
Oh, no, absolutely. These guys will be pushing 100%, using absolutely every bit of tar that they can to try and get a better exit, to try and get closer to the apex, try and carry more speed. They'll definitely be pushing 100%.
Yeah, and 100% right now might be sort of 85, 90%, I think, because that's what we're seeing. Let's go back to a battle that is starting to rage a little bit. This is Ian Upton trying to close down on Van Schalkwyk, and Van Schalkwyk and Upton's just been passed by Van Schalkwyk actually, so apologies there, but Van Schalkwyk eventually found a way through here on Upton. Upton trying to come back at him. It's probably the closest gap dice that we've got on track at the moment. It's for 10th and 11th. Now 10th and 11th place, of course, are going to give you 10 and 9 points respectively. So maybe those guys are pushing it as well to try and ensure that they can make the plate final.
Absolutely, and speaking of someone, I think he finished 15th in his first race. So he's going to definitely need every point that he can get. And as we say that, when Schalkwyk gets off, is Upton going to get through? I think he is. I think Upton is going to get through. So he's going to be chuffed about that. His life's definitely been made a little bit easier. But having said that now, he's got Caldenes and Van Schoeman both back on his backside there.
Yeah, exactly. Schalkwyk, Caldenes, and looks like Noah Hendricks is not too far behind. Let's see if we can just pick up. Look at that, 3 cars from an aerial shot. This is coming directly from the hot air balloon above the Nordschleife. As you heard from Sasha last night, we've spared no expense to try and give you the coverage that we do here. We've even put a cameraman into a hot air balloon so we can give you the aerial material here at the Seagate Gaming Solidarity E-Race. How awesome are these shots though, Mark? It's so good to have the ability to go to what would probably be about 60 or 70 different visuals available, and probably even more here at the Nordschleife.
Oh yeah, definitely, and some of the most iconic corners in the world as well. But Greg, just going back to this battle, I wonder if Caldenes isn't going to hang back a little bit. Just wait for these two to make a bit of a mistake, maybe take each other out, and and I say that, and there's a massive lunge on the outside from Caldenes.
You remember that bag I told you to bring along with you? The Commentator's first written on the side of it. There it is.
Let you know.
A nice move though from him. I'm going to tell you, absolutely brilliant stuff. He saw the guys go onto that inside curve, and that's a massive one. Yeah, something went wrong there. I don't think that was. We got a problem. I think on the game there more than anything else, because that's huge. Something went wrong there. But we're back to the front end. Have a look and see. Could have been one of the machines there, but it looked like there was a huge moment there for one of the cars. You can see Ian Upton now just trying to hang on. I don't think he's going to close down on Eli Vergara, but Upton, Van Schalkwyk, and Caldenes are not done yet.
Yeah, definitely. Greg, I think the 10th place battle is where it's all at the moment. And if we go back to Caldenes and Van Schalkwyk as well, they're both pushing each other, having an absolute ding-dong battle, changing positions nearly corner after corner as well. It's great stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if we're going to see this in this heat, can you imagine what's going to happen in the next couple of heats when we throw in a couple of extra bits and pieces there? Service fine by the sounds of things. Something just went a bit haywire. I'm not quite sure there, but we literally saw Ian Upton's car with no wheels on it flying through the forest of the Nordschleife. The green hell became even more hellish. How was that, Sash?
I got to tell you, Greg, I threw my cap onto the floor and I went, oh my word, it reminded me of Le Mans with the Mercedes Mark Webber. Oh my goodness, I got a fright there. But fortunately, it's just to go, and there we go, another one. So there seems to be definitely some kind of a glitch along the way. Fortunately towards the end of the race.
I wonder if that was actually the red pill or the blue pill that guy took there, because there's definitely a change matrix of some nature. We'll get back to the action as soon as we can, but it looks like we have lost visuals there. We're going to come back to it as soon as we can. But Mike, so far it looks like the battle at the front end could literally be sorted out, and I don't think we're going to see a change up there between the likes of Langeveld, Ensslin, and Absmeier. They're going to just hang in there and score the points that they can, because they know with those points they're going to go through.
Absolutely, yeah. They would want to put in a sensible driver. They're not going to do anything stupid, anything to compromise their position in tomorrow's final.
Okay,
yeah, I tell you,
team, Sash, sorry to jump in there, but it does look like there may have been a slight issue on the server, so we may have to go a lap back. According to what the rule is here, Sash, we've still got to get confirmation of that, probably from our guys in race control. If this happens, I think they may go a lap back on a similar vein to what would happen if a red flag came out, and then classify it, because there's only two laps. So they were already a lap and a half into the race. So going back one lap, they'll probably just pull whatever the results are from lap one and make that the result of this heat. I stand to be corrected, but that's what I would assume would happen, and what would happen on a normal racetrack as well.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, it is only a 2-lap race. Usually it's around about 60 or 70% of completion would determine a final result. It seems as though they were at about that stage of the race as well. So we'll leave it up to the stewards. I'm sure that they will make the right call there. But another terrific heat there. I didn't see what happened with Absmeier and who was it? Christo. Ensslin. Yes, Langeveld, Chris Langeveld, yeah.
Absmeier and Ensslin were going at it, but it looks like Absmeier was able to keep out Ensslin, if I'm not mistaken. Mike, what did you think?
Yeah, definitely. As we mentioned earlier, they're not going to do anything to compromise the race. I mean, they're good friends in the real life world as well.
Yeah, I think
Mike,
that's...
Sorry, Sash, from Michael's side again, just to reiterate, and this is quite a pertinent point right now. This is what happens in broadcasts on occasion, Mike. So you might think to yourself, well, maybe I'm getting the raw end of the deal here. But to be honest with you, this can happen all the time, and it's happened on so many occasions that both Sasha and I probably have forgotten most of them. But these kind of things tend to happen. So don't say as a raw end of the deal. Take it as an advantage to show that you can cope with what happens on a normal broadcast and can happen on a broadcast.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think this is where it's quite important to have some motorsport knowledge, to be able to talk about potential races that are coming up, be able to talk about the environment, some facts around the track, some facts around the drivers as well that might be interesting to the viewers.
Very much so. I remember commentating, I think it was the 2012 or 2013 Canadian Grand Prix, one of the classic races, which eventually was won by Jenson Button with a mistake that Sebastian Vettel made with about 4 corners to go. But during the course of that race, a Formula One race usually ran about an hour and 45, hour and 50 minutes, depending on everything. And we had to pad for 4 hours that evening because of red flags and rain and all of those things. So I tell you, there are times when just you think, oh, we're going to finish up now and maybe I can go and have myself a cold drink or a cup of coffee. And the next minute you're stuck in your chair for a few hours.
Sash, I can't agree with you more, and I've had it on both sides of the spectrum. You spoke about the 4-stroke karting worlds and the karting aspect of careers. In a 24-hour karting event, when it starts to rain, and it literally came down in bucket loads at the Vereeniging Kart Circuit last year at the 24-hour, myself and Prince had to sit there and watch karts being driven around behind the back of an Amarok Bucky because they couldn't see where they were going and had to just follow the lights of the Amarok Bucky. Then taking it from the aspect of being involved in a 24-hour, my very first 24-hour motorcycle race that I raced on my own with no teammates, 3 o'clock in the morning, normal thunderstorm from Witbank pulled into Red Star Raceway, and we spent 2.5 hours behind a safety car on a motorcycle in pouring rain.
That can't be fun. That can't be. I was just reminding myself it was 2011 that race as well. But Greg, yeah, I mean that's the great thing about live television, and I think that's why also so many of us are missing the live aspect of sport at the moment. But we've got this, and that's what's so great, So just as in the normal real world, comes to motor racing, in the sim world you have the same kind of things. It's all the progress of technology, and that's you're pushing the limit all of the time, and these servers are working overtime, and the guys are flicking buttons all over the place, and sometimes things just go a little awry.
Absolutely, and Sasha, just on that point as well, what is so great about sim racing is that it really does bring the motorsport community together. There's a lot of guys here who would never have the chance to race against the likes of Daniel Rowe, Devin Piazzamusa, Alton Boer, Adrian Wood, all these top guys in real life. I mean, you would never see a top South African cricketer show up at a club cricket match. And play with some club cricketers, and this is what's so great about sim racing. It's and obviously some of the sim racers give a good account to themselves against the real world guys.
I think you bring up such a brilliant point there. So important what you brought up, and that is bringing in a lot of the motor racing drivers from the circuit who most probably sit in their sims and have a little bit of fun, but don't enter into these kind of leagues, and now mixing it up. And I think it's terrific that everyone is having a go with each other.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the previous edition of the Solidarity race, we have the likes of Michael Stephen racing there. I mean, he's an absolute legend in the South African motor racing scene.
Yeah, a 17-time South African champion in his own right, and he decided to come and play with us. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it out for this one, but I know that he is contemplating coming back for the possibility of version 4. And that is on the cards, just to let everybody know. There's a lot of background, back and forth emails, etc., and a lot of guys have thrown in sort of their ideas, which we are taking into account from the sim racing world, from the leagues that we get involved with. And a reminder that what we've done so far with this, Mike, which you've probably seen too, having followed us, is the engagement has not only been from us only. We have engaged with Motorsport South Africa in possibly looking for a national champion to represent South Africa. We're engaging with big events to try and leverage off those big events and do events in line with them or on the same sort of platform as them. And then we're also engaging with all the leagues that are involved currently. I mean, just last night or the night before last, we had to rearrange our times to ensure that those league guys could get out of our event and get into their event in time.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, also another element to it as well is that you've got developers and stuff now who are suddenly making mods for our local South African circuits, on the different sims, which is great. I mean, I believe on one of the sims already, there's a very good version of Swarkops and both Aldo Scribanti, which is making motorsport even more accessible now, especially from a local point of view.
I think it's just terrific the way that it is advancing and at the speed that it is advancing as well. It is so important that people just continue and going out as much of time. Okay, so we have got some news that this. Yes, go for it, Greg.
Basically, what the first heat of the Zonda, so heat 4 or heat 1 of semi-final 2, the results will be at the time of the crash. So they are going to work out what those results were at the time of the crash, which is about a lap and a half in, which would have probably given us about that 65, 70% mark, or even 75% mark. So that would give Langeveld the win. I think it was Absmeyer in second, and it would have been third to Ensign. I can't remember the rest, but we'll try and pull that up for you if you get it. Then go straight into the qualifying for heat number 5.
Yeah, terrific. And I'm glad the stewards have made that call. Of course, they got a tough job. We've spoken about them quite a bit during the course of this evening already. But they've got a tough job, and they have to make these difficult calls. You can't just sit there and reset and say, okay, let's do that race again. You've got to be circumspect. And those guys who have finished the game, Greg, in the top 5, and Michael, they're the ones who are going to be looking very, very good for that grand final tomorrow evening.
Yeah, indeed.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Mark, from your side, I just want to say a valiant effort from both Sash and I, and thank you for joining me for the commentary. Sash, a big effort there as well. Thanks for letting me jump in too. I think you did an incredible job, and I just want to wish you all the very best for the rest of the competition. Remember, what you have to do now is get onto Solidarity E-Races page and ensure that all your friends, fans, and family are going to like, share, and comment on your post that's got your picture on it.
No, brilliant. Thanks so much for the opportunity, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah, terrific, Michael. Great to have you along there for the commentary. I'm sorry I was a little bit AWOL during the first part, but I had to just go and sort something out. Greg, thank goodness there were three of us, because there was pretty important that I had to go and sort out.
Not an issue at all, Sash. But once again, Mark, thanks so very much. We'll let you jump out now. I'm going to ask Brendan, if he wouldn't mind. I know that we're waiting for those servers to come up, so I'm going to ask Brendan maybe just to pull in what we've got as the points so far in terms of the points scored. I know there were some slides sent there. I don't know if you were able to pull those up, Brendan, but if you can, that would be really amazing, because it'll give us a chance to sort of just run through how the points stand at this point. If I go, Sash, on what I've just said, Absmeyer getting second will move him to 47 points. I'm just going to go to the other one that was important. The Alrik Ensign would have got 20. That'll give him 35. And then, of course, the other one involved there was Chris Langerveld will get 25. So we got two drivers tied on 47 at this stage.
Yeah, which is excellent. And I must tell you, a guy like Alrik Enslin, who had a little bit of an off in his first heat this evening, came back and was superb in this one, Greg. Knew that he needs to get the points, wants to be into that grand final tomorrow. We know he's such an accomplished sim racer as well, and he could really upset everybody tomorrow evening. So I think a very circumspect race from him in his second semi-final this evening, and looking good for tomorrow night.
Yeah, one thing I spoke to Michael Ellis about there, our fourth competitor in the commentator stretch, was the fact that the guys are going to have a slightly different strategy in this second semi-final heat that they're in, whether it's heat 1, 2, or 3. If they get into a situation where they're not fighting for position and they know they're going to score X amount of points, that's certainly going to be in the back of their minds to ensure that they don't push too much and make a vital or crucial mistake late in the race.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is not just a flat-out race unless you weren't really together with in your first semi-final. For those who had a very strong first semi-final heat, they'll be sitting and saying, "Listen, keep your nose clean. Make sure you just keep the position that you are in your qualifying, and make it to the end safely, and ensure that you get the maximum amount of points." The other guys, they're the ones you're going to have to worry about, because they're going to push it really, really hard.
Okay, so that's semi-final 1, heat number 3. And there you can see Jordan Sherritt getting the 25 points, Whiting second with 22, Wilkin gets 20, Umpy Swart gets 18, Garteri gets 16, Garnham gets 15, Kruger gets 12, and Cornet Breert gets 11. Zanderoots gets 10. Now, Sash, from my calculations and messing around with the maths that I did last night, and it gave us a little bit of an indication. I wasn't too far off, I got to say, with what the eventual results were there. My thinking is that you've got to at least be in the top 10 every time.
Yeah.
Because if you're not scoring between 25 and 40 points, I don't think you're going to be in that top 20 when we decided at the end of the evening.
Yeah, 100%, Greg. It just comes down to basic maths. You really have to maximize when it comes to the points. As I say, so when we get into this next semi-final, in a couple of minutes they're going to do the qualifying, and then of course we'll get into the race. Those guys who are in the top 5, top 6 want to ensure that they're there in that top 6 in the next when the race starts. But those guys further back, they're the ones who really, really have to push to get into that top 20, but also to just get into the top 40.
Sounds like we've got the servers back as well. Maybe we can just have one more of those slides, Brent, if you wouldn't mind. I don't know if you can pull up the heat 2 or heat 1. Okay, so we only had the one, not a major. So, well, that just gives us an indication. I know that we're going to get the final results, and it's actually quite lacquer to bring in, Sash, a bit of information which we haven't mentioned just yet. and that's the fact that we've got our good friend Richard Raymond joining us tonight as part of our technical team in the background, helping out with all the point scoring. So by the time we get to the end of Heat 3 here in semi-final 2, there's a good possibility that we'll have those points up for grabs and see who's going to make it into the top 20 and the bottom 20.
Welcome, Richard. He's got a brand new little baby as well, so he's going to be having lots of fun in his early mornings, but great to have him along as well.
Yeah, I think we'll ask him a bit later if he's sleeping through yet. Anyway, not sleeping at the moment, though, and joining us, of course, is a man who spent oodles of time behind a microphone, particularly in the sim world, and it's always good to have him here. We've spoken about him as a racer, we've spoken about him as a commentator, and of course, one of the reasons we looked to run this particular competition was a call out from Mr. George Smith to say, listen, what about the commentators? Can't we get involved and be part and parcel of the Solidarity E-Race and join yourself and myself as part of the team? So, Georgie, a big welcome to you, Mr. G-Max.
Greg, it's fantastic that you guys have taken up this initiative. I'm super stoked to be here with you guys. Sasha, shout out to you as well. Awesome to be here with you guys. It's a new simulator for me. Assetto Corsa was something that I got into for more the drifting side. So coming to the Nordschleife, I've done a couple laps. It is a track that I am, quite a fan of. I've got it kind of posted on my wall as well. So yeah, I'm excited to be here with you guys.
George, you got a very, very cool setup over there, man. You look raring to go. Wonderful to have you on board with us, and looking forward to what you've thought about the racing so far this evening.
Yeah, I mean, I think that so far, like all the guys that have come here have pretty much had one goal in mind, and that's get to the end of the circuit. Kind of referencing something that Greg would be familiar with, the Isle of Man. It kind of feels like that style of racing here. It's really about getting all the way to the end at the end of the day. Pushing and diving and in the middle of the track or even at the start of the track is not something that these guys are going to do. So you're looking for that consistency. You're looking for guys that can maximize what they can get out of the car. But at the same time, you're being pushed for time by really talented drivers. So it's a real good mix overall.
George, I have to agree, bud. And I think I like the terminology in terms of the liking towards that incredible mountain circuit on the Isle. The other important factor, of course, is on the Isle of Man, these guys on motorcycles push it to the limit at almost every single one of the laps that they go out on. What we're tending to find with the guys involved in the Nordschleife affair here for Seagate Gaming Solidarity E-Race is in the hot laps, they were pushing for hot laps, and there's no doubt about that's how it will work. But here, they're looking for that maybe 85 to 90% of their maximum, but they can run that pace for both laps.
Oh, 100%. It's that fine knife's edge that you're going to be balancing on the entire time. And I think the car combinations that have been picked here have been a nice balance, and it really pushes guys to the limits. It's not a sim that it's easy to get into. I think you guys have touched on that enough throughout this broadcast so far. I mean, it really is tough to get behind the wheel of these cars. I think the Zonda, with a little bit more downforce, chatting to Jason earlier on, is a little bit more lenient towards the driving style. It's a little bit more downforce focused, but at the same time, incredibly difficult to get wrong if you just clip a curb in Assetto Corsa.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these cars are quite spectacular. We're watching some of the pictures that are coming up on our one screen over there. Just wonderful to see. George, you also do quite a lot of commentating internationally. Is that correct?
I've kind of jumped into the sim racing side of things. I was very heavily involved in the first-person shooters and sort of Dota side when esports was first kind of popping here in South Africa. And then kind of from there evolved into getting into sim racing. I'll say evolved, and that's a bit of a shots fired at my FPS friends. But at the same time, I really have enjoyed the sort of maturity side of coming into the sim racing community. The drivers here are all super respectful. They can take instructions when they're given it. And they all really give a good show to everyone here. So, getting in internationally was something I loved the experience of getting exposed to. A company called Redline Motorsports there hosts events pretty much bi-weekly, every week. I'm sort of in the booth there. So it's really nice to be involved in the sim community on that side. And it's nice to, be involved in the sim community this side, and just see the progression of drivers. From my side, it's just been a boom during the lockdown period to just see how many people have got involved, the real life driver involvement, the driver involvement, the commentary commitment from you guys. It's so cool to see, and I think the integration has just given the exposure that sim racing needs, even continuing after the lockdown. So it's really great exposure from you guys.
Yeah, we have to say that we can't do it without all our sponsors, of course, and to keep things going and to ensure that we continue, and long may we continue. From your side of things, George, you've also experienced, how the leagues work in this country and internationally. Do you think what we've done with Solidarity E-Race is on a par, or have we maybe raised the bar slightly?
I think it's definitely on par. I think that I do enjoy the fact that you guys have, put something out that is a little bit more challenging. I think the Neuschleifer kind of throws a lot of people away from what they may have been used to in the first couple of rounds being in a Assetto Corsa competition. But at the same time, that's what it's all about. It's different events, it's awareness. There's so many varieties of, different simming events that can be done. And I like the fact that you've done something here. And I think that highlighting drivers is always, the point at the end of the day. And I think that sponsors getting on board to, follow the vision that's theirs. It's so cool, And going back to something like what happened with Alaric Enslin, getting that opportunity to now go into the Polo Cup, test driving a real car sim to seat, it really makes my heart happy. It's incredible to just see the involvement all around coming together and, just growing the community.
Yeah, I must say, from my perspective, it's just been so great to get involved with this side of racing in this professional way. I've always been one who's just raced against the machine, and never really competed against other people in the sort of sim world. But I'm now very, very much itching to get involved and have the banter and go around there and have headphones on and have a lot of fun and do the racing as well. So it's great to have a sort of merge of the real and the sim world.
Well, I love that you touched on that, and sorry about that, Greg.
No, go ahead, George.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I saw that you guys are getting hooked up with rigs, and from my side, we've got a friendly race environment that runs on a Monday night that you guys can jump into and start getting some on-track experience if you don't want to dive straight into league racing. It's great fun, everybody in the voice comms and headphones on. At the end of the day, it's there to enjoy your time on track. It doesn't just have to be a competitive side. There is the social element to it. I've met more friends through this entire journey than I could have ever imagined. And there's so many people willing to help out. If you need help with a setup, or you need help getting a rig, or you need help with a wheel, you just post a message in one of these sim racing groups, bam! You've got it a link to go and get something. So yeah, from my end, the community side is just so special in sim racing.
Very, very cool. And I've got to say that it's good to have someone with the experience that you've had, and of course, especially in the sim world, but it gives Sash and I a little bit of downtime, because a lot of the times we've kind of focused, initially on the drivers that we know. We know that you're going to probably jump in and give us a bit of insight onto the drivers that you know. And with that, of course, it creates the element that we are trying to promote here, as well as the fact that we are solidarity based, and we're trying to provide some support to guys who are down at this time and have no business and have no income, and also supporting what the country's doing on solidarity. But the point I'm trying to raise here, with you coming involved and me getting involved and Sasha getting involved, is it gives us a chance to sort of look at the sim world as potential income and potential business for everyone involved, not just the three of us.
No, 100% correct. And I think even with the commentators' fine drive that you guys are doing here, hearing the voices before me, incredible talent all along the lines. And I don't think that's even the tip of the iceberg for the people that are out there. So, to the people that are watching and want to get involved, there's so many opportunities. And if you don't want to just get involved in the commentary side and you want to be more back end, people are looking for stewards. Stewarding is so important. If more live events can have more live stewards, and drivers don't have to always drive. You could be in a different split, you could be involved in a different league, and you can go and steward for someone else. At the end of the day, it's all about jumping in and helping out. It's a community-based drive from everybody involved. And I think, like you said, monetization is always there. And I think that highlighting things and getting sponsors involved is going to just go such a long way at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most important thing is always having fun. Whether it's real racing, and we know real racing is a lot more dangerous than sim racing. However, people go out there, of course, to try and win championships and win races. But we also look at people just going out there and loving what they're doing. So it is also very much about having a tremendous amount of fun.
Have a look at the lap times coming in here, Sasha. Jordan Sherritt, 6:24, 9:84. That is on a similar par to the lap times that you'd be getting out of the fastest ever at this track. So, George, from your point of view, I know that it's not going to be an official lap record around here because we could have taken the Sim World, it won't be put down as an official, but we can set an official Solidarity E-Race record of the Nordschleife in this car, or potentially tomorrow night in that incredible P1.
Yeah, you're 100% right, Greg. At the end of the day, you can do whatever you want to do in this world. It's something that you can set a narrative for, and anything is going to be comparable. I mean, everything's on official servers using official content. So, at the end of the day, all of these guys are out there pushing it to the limit. Someone like Jordan Sherritt is such a talented driver as well, sitting at the top of the leaderboard at the moment. He's come in from the real life world and come into the sim side and really just had a good transition in terms of pace. He's someone that I definitely will keep my eye out in the future. And if he sticks around when things open back up, I think that the sim community would have something to be worried about.
Well, let's have a look at those numbers on the cars as opposed to the numbers of the drivers too. Rasmus Janssen van Rensburg and Brett Lindsay 1 and 2, Dierwald Brummer 3, Nico Nicolaisen in 4, Andries Lombard and Devin Leisha in 5 and 6. 7 is Sherritt, 8 is Corne Brett, Henry Roux is 9, Engelbrecht is 10. We've got Whiting and Kurt Glashagen in there in 11 and 12, Sash. And then you've got a couple of guys coming from the back end as well.
Yeah, Julian Familiaris is actually on track at the moment. Looks like he's going to get into second position. He's on a great lap, only 3.4 seconds down on Jordan Sherritt. We've got Travis Faria, 14, Damien Halkett, 15, Brandon Kruger, 16, Davido Fave, 17, Byron Mitchell, 18, and Richard Clark, car number 19, all driving the Pagani Zonda R 6-litre V12 AMG Mercedes-Benz power, designed by Horacio as Pagani. Man, it's a beautiful looking car. You've got to admit that, George.
Yeah, I coming from my side, I like the cars that look like Batmobiles, and this definitely ticks those boxes. The Pagani range is obviously known for its ultimate luxury, and this track-built car, I believe, even comes with a stereo, Sash. I'm sure you can confirm or deny, but if these guys wanted to and they bought the real life one, they could cruise around here listening to the tunes of their desires.
Well, I must tell you, from a petrol head's point of view, the only symphony I want to hear is from those V12s in the back. I wouldn't care about a radio.
Sasha, 100% right. I was just pointing out that for such a luxury manufacturer, a car of such high caliber, and it just shows the luxurious touch that Pagani always goes to ensure that their drivers are kept completely comfortable. But like you said, that V12 powered beast, an absolute pleasure to witness here, and I think that the downforce of the design side is going to be incredible.
One thing I've got to say is having been able to drive one of these, not the Zonda, but a Pagani, in the hands of our good friend and the late, great Lolly Jackson, when Sasha and I were involved with Super Series, and we ran the Celebrity Blacklist, Sash. The first time that Lolly pulled in, he arrived, of course, in that Lamborghini, not the Aventador, he came in the Lamborghini Huracan, known as the Hulk, which, of course, just blew my mind, being a big Hulk fan, and Batman alongside me will probably back me up on that too. I've also got a lot of Batman memorabilia here. But he arrived in the Zonda that he brought in. It was I think it was the only one in the country at that stage, and it was the Spider. And the incredible thing about the design of that car, and it's probably on a similar vein to what the design of these race cars is, the rooftop came off and actually fitted in to the bonnet. There was a specific place to put the roof of the car into the bonnet so that you could make it into the Spider if you wanted to.
I was magnificent. I remember it. Yeah, I remember it with great affection. The late Lolly Jackson and his Pagani Zonda. But the attention to detail is just stunning. It was actually a Lamborghini Murcielago that he had, Greg. That was his Hulk car. And then, of course, his Pagani Zonda. Oh, wow. Anyway, I think
Well, we got lap times coming in here, which is really nice, and Leisha's up to third. But just sticking with that story, Sash, and it's all part and parcel, of course, as George knows, and coming in like this, is to try and not only talk about the racing, but there's a lifestyle around it too. And yeah, that Murcielago of his, if you recall, was in green colors. Can I tell you that its original color, when he passed on, it went to purple, and it's now been brought back to what the original color of that car is, and it's parked in the Motul Museum, and it's now back into its all silver colors. So it's had a bit of a history, that little car in South Africa. So yeah, it's nice to have that kind of background knowledge too, and I think that's also an important factor, and part and parcel of why George has got involved here is to bring in the other aspects and the background knowledge to the racing, like you and I do on occasions.
Greg, I think that touching on that side of things, I think that you guys have had some incredible opportunities to get your hands on some incredible vehicles in your time. And, from my side is just a little sim racer that does things from his loft. It's something incredible to just hear some of the stories that you guys obviously share. And I think that the viewers also, like to hear some of the opportunities that, real life people have to offer. From my side, my opportunities and what I've got to taste has only really been on a simulator basis. So, from my end, touching on things that are, potentially in the sim that you guys wouldn't know about is obviously what I can add. And I'm here to, help you guys understand some of the, maybe finite things that you maybe have questions on. I'm not an Assetto Corsa expert by any means. Like I said to you guys, the drifting side was good for me. So if I see a little bit of oversteer here, I might get a little bit excited into the microphone. But of course, the Nordschleife are not somewhere that you want that to happen. You've got very narrow opportunities for things to go completely wrong. And of course, those barriers are waiting to munch at you at any opportune cost.
I tell you, I'm just watching Dierwald Brum on track here. Man, he is hauling this Zonda R around the Nordschleife. The car just sticking down there. Just wonderful to watch. The racecraft of these sim races. George, what makes a sim racer that good? Is it just seat time? Or what is it that the guys really hone their skills on or work on to try and improve themselves?
Sash, I think you ask a question that many people ask themselves, and I think that if the secret was that obvious and out there, that more people would be at the top. What we call them is aliens, and some of them just exist. And it's hard to really come around to pinpoint exactly what makes these guys do what they do. I mean, we've seen real life drivers jump into sim and, just have that transition. Some guys would say that they need the actual bum seat feel of the car, the G-forces, to really be able to measure it. They can't feel the car enough through the force feedback that they're getting. Some guys just need the full motion rig. Some guys just need a wheel attached to a table. Some people don't drive with force feedback. Some people do. It's completely down to feel and what you want to do, whatever lengths you want to go to. A great sim racer is someone that just shows great class on track. I think that it takes two to tango, and on a track like the Nordschleife, you have to give each other room. If you've got a car alongside you, you can't cut them off. You can't just block and fail. You can't change lines. drastically. I think it comes down to a lot of the racecraft that you guys would probably chat about in a real life broadcast. At the end of the day, all these guys that are at the top are people that can come down and bang consistent times. Hot laps are one thing, qualifying is one thing. The race is completely different, and racecraft is completely everything. And consistency at the end of the day is going to secure a victory, or at least the points that you require to get through to the finals tomorrow.
Yeah, 100%. And also, I mean, the Nordschleife are not the widest circuit in the world, Greg. So you got to take your opportunities and be at your optimum if you're going to try and make some of those moves stick. However, we have seen a lot of people make very, very small mistakes, and because of that, it does give the driver chasing the opportunity to get a good exit speed or a good corner speed in order to make a pass.
Big thing I want to bring in just before I leave you and George to get on with the commentary, and I'll just jump in every now and again, as I said in the last couple. But George, the big change up we've seen, particularly over lockdown, and of course with the sponsors that we've got involved with this event and with the previous events, being from an IT point of view and from a gaming point of view, is it looks like the South African and South Africa's ability to provide data, fiber, Wi-Fi, connectivity, etc., is getting better and better. And with that, of course, it gives us a chance to do what we do on situations and games like we're doing tonight.
Oh yeah, I mean, connectivity is really at its peak here, and I think that fiber providers have stepped up, especially during the lockdown period, to ensure that services have remained really at their peak and really, really good at this sort of... you look at Europe, and they're really struggling with their internet load, and what we're doing here is it's been phenomenal. I think that you're touching on a pertinent point, that sim racing is actually just so accessible all around the world with fiber now, that European leagues and South African leagues could merge together in the future.
Yeah, that's for sure. I must say, my service provider, I think over the lockdown period, doubled up our fiber rate, which was terrific for nothing. So I think that's been quite fun. I think I just need a rig now.
Yeah, the other aspect, of course, which helps out, and it's not only what we're doing with racing. And just before we go there, a final thought from me is that it gives everybody a chance to be able to watch what we're doing, and of course do their business and do schoolwork and do whatever they need to in this lockdown period. But let's get into the racing right now as we get into heat number 2. George Smith joining Sasha Martinengo and myself, Greg Maloney, here for heat 2 action from the Seagate Gaming Solidarity E-Race.
It is the Solidarity E-Race City semi-final, number 2 in the Zonda R. Jordan Sherritt, a man who has been on top form during the whole course of the weekend. And we go racing. It's a very good welcome to our fabulous George Smith joining us. And we've got Jordan Sherritt out in front.
Thanks, Sasha. Great to be with you here. Yeah, Jordan Sherritt getting a great start. Familiaris securing second, Brim into third, and Whiting into fourth. But it will be a scrappy fight at the start. Obviously, these guys are starting so close together. This is a great place for people to get opportune moments, and we'll see them going alongside one another in the background. Whiting is leading what looks like a train of Zondas behind. Of course, they will make their way through the entire circuit today twice. It's a long circuit for them to endure, and it is just the start of the race. So everybody settling down and getting themselves into that slipstream for wherever they can. There's plenty of times for them to leap and jump at one another later on. But for now, it will be just calm, cool, and collected, getting the tire warmth into the tires, of course, maximizing the grip. And it looks like for now, like I said, Sash, everybody just settling in, playing calmly, being cool and collected as they make their way around the Nordschleife.
Well, I got to tell you, it looks fast and furious to me. If you go all the way to Helkett in 9th, Briet just in front of him, Mitchell just in front of him, Leisha just in front of him. So we're on board with Corne Briet. He's sitting in 8th place. He is half a second second down the road from Mitchell. Man, this is furious rating. But Sherritt has got the long shot. He's 1.6 seconds ahead of Familiaris. And Familiaris has left Brimmer in his dust. But behind him, Whiting, Kruger, Leisha, Mitchell, and Briet.
Yeah, Jordan Sherritt getting the jump ahead, getting himself into some clean air, and he's going to love the fact that there's cars battling behind him. That's going to allow him to get a little bit of freedom later on in the lap and maybe cool down and not have to push right until the end. But where they are not having to let off, Devin Leisha, currently in 4th place, is hunting down onto the back of Kruger. Leisha has actually come into 6th place. He's jumped down. I see the spin in the background. I'm not sure who had an off in the background. It looks like Briet dropping down the order at the moment, and I think that Corne Briet has maybe had a bit of collision there, and that's not a place that you want to have something happen. It's right at the start of the circuit, and you've lost all of the ability to hang on to the initial train of cars. And with these stacked grids that we see here today, there's very small chances that the rest of the grid up at the front is going to make similar mistakes. So you're now kind of fighting for a mid-pack position, which is not where you want to be, but at the end of the day, you want to get to the end of the race, you have to finish. So Sash, from here, we're looking at Whiting as he's got Brimmer's Zonda hunting down the back of him here as they make their way. You see on the background that curb sending, I think it was Kruger, off into the wall, as it looks like a move going to be available on that orange Zonda as we switch back to Whiting in 3rd here. As, like Brimmer said, coming through the carousel now, everybody just settling down. Looks like Brimmer trying to have a look on the inside, but not going to be able to get a move done. Like we said, it's very difficult to make a move unless someone's made a mistake like Kruger's done here, and he's lost the place to Mitchell, Sash.
Yeah, and he's lost a place to Devin Leisha as well. I tell you, this is phenomenal racing. You got Brummer, who's pushing Whiting like crazy, and we're on board now with Brandon Kruger, who's just got past Halkett, and he's going to be chasing down Byron Mitchell. He's only 3/10 behind him. Right on the back of him, these screaming V12s with these Pagani Zonda Rs. Reminds me of Formula One cars from the 2000s. Magnificent sounding into the right-hander, going down the hill now, and just choosing your line. You've got to be very careful not to get into the power too quickly. We're staying on with Brandon Kruger in 7th position, and I tell you, look at he's trying everything to get past Mitchell. Can he get... Oh, Mitchell making a big mistake there. There's a chance for Brandon Kruger. Can he go around the outside? Not the easiest pass to overtake. Hard on the brakes there. Oh, another twitch there from Mitchell. This is definitely an opportunity for Kruger.
Mitchell trying to capitalize as much as he can, but he's got obviously the hunting down of Kruger behind, putting on the pressure. It's not what you want to happen, as you see these Zondas getting airborne right behind each other, tucked into the slip, nipping at the curbs where they can, trying not to get sent off. And of course, putting that car onto the inside apex as much as possible will be Mitchell. Kruger is going to be trying to squeeze as much as he can out of these V12s as he tries his best as they go through that mini carousel section. Now, these Zondas, a beautiful sight going almost side by side as Kruger running a bit wide, kicking a bit of grass up, and that's going to put this on ice just a little bit until Kruger can hunt back onto Mitchell.
I tell you, it's the race of this heat at the moment. It's Brandon Kruger chasing down Byron Mitchell. You can see the red flaming race of the Zonda Rs. We cross over to corner Briet, and he is chasing down Nicolaisen as he has a long straight. Anybody going to get try and break the toe of the car behind him? On board with Corne Briet in 10th place, and of course that's the rest of the field streaming behind him. This long straight. We cross over to Devil Brimmer in 4th place, and he's chasing down Rob Whiting, who's just ahead of him. This is a podium place battle between Devil Brimmer and Rob Whiting. Rob Whiting 3 seconds down the road from in front of him is Familiaris, and Familiaris is 3 seconds or 4 seconds away from Jordan Sherritt.
Jordan Sherritt running away at the moment. Such a talent in sim racing as well as real life racing, I believe. He's one of the drivers from the ACC side that is also really talented at Kyalami. He does 139.5s, which is absolutely incredible. And just good to see him making the transition over to AC, and doing well in the Pagani Zondas. I love the fact that everybody's been chucked a curveball here at the Nürburgring. Brandon Kruger is now back into that chase down position onto Mitchell. He's got to do his best not to put this Pagani onto the sand or the dirt, and they just lift up coming through. An incredible sight to see. I kind of feel like they had to lift just to make sure they could break in time before they get back on the straight. Of course, that slipstream effect in these Paganis will be there, and any chance that they can tuck into one another, they will be doing so. Of course, this circuit is just a test of absolutely everything, completely blind in a lot of the corners. This is one of them before they come down to the bridge. All the trees around the circuit blocking your view. You kind of get that, blink of vision. You want to get the position in front here, and it's a dangerous track. I'm glad that we're just doing this in sim racing. It allows the guys to push it to the limits, and a handful of curb being munched up by the Zonda before they're going to slam on the anchors and bring the Zondas back down through the gearbox. Of course, that 6-speed sequential, just a wonderful sound, like you referenced back to those Formula One cars. I've never my life witnessed them in real life, but I could only imagine the real life sound being transcended upon your eardrums.
I tell you, this is great driving from both of these drivers, Byron Mitchell and Brandon Kruger. Not an inch being given, and total respect for each other as they go into the right-hander. Can Brandon Kruger do anything about Byron Mitchell? That's already very wide on the circuit. You're going to say, really good driving and respectful driving for both of these drivers. That seems, he went crashed into the crashed them both up.
Commentators curse Sasha Martinengo as
Byron Mitchell and Brandon cracking. I don't know if he's man, that was a big shot.
Yeah, and I think the stewards will be looking. Jump in.
I was watching what was on screen, and then of course got a chance to watch it on my iPad with a couple of seconds delay. So I know we're not showing replays because the AC version of this game or the AC game doesn't allow us to do the replays like we could in ACC Competizione. But I actually got to see it like literally 3 or 4 seconds afterwards, and man, that was a big punch from the back end there. So yeah, this is definitely on between these two.
Yeah, you were right. And like Sasha was just about to talk about, it was great racecraft. But at the end of the day, everybody on the final lap, as our leader, Jordan Sherritt here, has just run away with things. Familiaris kind of in the background as he runs through the carousel. But a clean race coming out from Jordan Sherritt, #1 at the moment. And, if you message Jordan in Discord, he also has a nickname there, Jordan Sherritt #1. So kind of living up to his nickname there, as well as here at the Green Hill. We're going to look at Corne Breed here. He's trying to get onto the back of Lindsay Ray and try and get himself a little bit up the order. Currently sitting in 9th within the top 10, somewhere that you would be happy with sitting. Myself, most certainly within the top 10 would be somewhere that I'd love to be at, somewhere like the Neuschleifer. So Corne Breed trying to get something done onto the back of Lindsay Ray. But right now, it's not going to be the place to do so at the carousel. It's going to be settle down and wait for the long stretches, of course, to wind all through the gearbox and get up to those rev limits and try and use that slipstream effect. This is not what Corne Breed wanted to do. Runs wide, has
5 this evening, and it's been hammer and tongs between Brandon Kruger, Byron Mitchell. Is it going to come down to tears for one of them or tears for both of them in the final minutes of this race?
Those carbon ceramics are really working hard here for both drivers, trying to give each other as much room as they can. You cannot fit more than 2 Zondas 2x2 here, and even at doing so, we're going to see Kruger getting right onto the back of Mitchell. Mitchell getting a little bit of oversteer as well, and kicking out the rear. These tires must be screaming as the two of them battle out. They've done so from the start of the race. Like we said, a lot of these guys get a lot of open air to drive. These two have stared at one another since the start, and really good racecraft. Bar that little touch that happened, I think both of them would have exchanged a little bit of aero in the collision there. The rear from Mitchell being slightly compromised, as Kruger looking like his aero also damaged as they make their way down the straight. Switching over to Britt and Lindsay Ray, another battle that has not had any clean air And I feel that Breeds is at that point where he wants to have a chance in the front and not have to stare at brake lights of another driver. It really does get into your mindset of where you can push and where you can't. And you have to make constant adjustments to make sure that you're not touching the car in front. Look at the slipstream effect here, Sasha. Corne Brett trying to maximize it down the straight.
Yeah, I tell you, he's got a great, he's just on the wrong side. He needs to be on the inside. But I tell you, Corne Brett's got the long shot on Lindsay Ray. And what a he's gone into the wall. Unbelievable, just carrying too much speed. But he's actually managed to maintain the position ahead of Lindsay Ray. You can only do that in sim racing. But man, that was an ambitious move. But he did manage to hold it stick. And he's going to get a position ahead of Lindsay Ray. Wow, that was pretty hairy from Corne Brett, but well done to him and claiming that 8th position. That could be some vital points when we do our tallies after the final event this evening.
Josh, I've got the points. I was about to jump in to say, if it stays like it is, what I've worked out so far is we'll have Jordan Sherritt on 50 points. We'll have Jason Absmeyer and Chris Langeveld on 47. We'll have Julian Familiaris on 42. Dievel Brummer on 36, Ulrich Enselen on 35, Devin Leisha on 32, and then it'll be Byron Mitchell on 30. That's if my maths is right. It's unofficial, of course. We'll wait for Richard Raymond to send us the official results. But I do want to say a massive thank you to George Smith for jumping in and probably having an extended version of what you expected, Georgie. But of course, this is what you do. So hopefully we didn't catch you off guard there. I don't think we did. From my side, I think you handled very nicely. Sash, your point?
Yeah, I must say, George, well done. Lovely to have your knowledge, your experience, and your enthusiasm. So good luck with your continuation of both racing and commentary.
Yeah, guys, I just wanted to thank you again for having me here. It's an incredible opportunity, and I love the fact that you guys are running this competition. I really enjoyed what you did here. And Greg, just to touch on that point, it wasn't enough. I feel like I wanted a little bit more. I think that if we had a little bit more, some of those battles that were put on ice would have been chucked out of the cooler onto the fire, and we'd have seen some, not being able to slam it into the wall right at the end there. A little bit lucky to save things right at the end. But Jordan Sherritt, an incredible performance at the end of the day, and a great show from all the drivers at the end from my side. I really enjoyed it, and thanks for having me.
Well, wish you all the very best and good luck with the rest of the competition. Hopefully you'll get onto all your fans and friends and make sure that they are liking, sharing and commenting on the post that's been put up on Solidarity E-Race. It's the pick with you in it, and they need to get on there and do as much liking, sharing and commenting as possible so that we can make our lives and the judges' lives a bit easier tomorrow morning when they've got to make the call as to who and which one of our semi-finalists are going to make it through. And you may be joining us tomorrow night again to commentate with myself and Stash for the plate final. Good luck for you, sir.
Thanks very much for having me. I'll keep my diary open just in case, and I hope that the guys enjoyed what I did, and send the army over to go and like and share and do all the bits and pieces to hopefully get me there tomorrow night.
Awesome stuff, bud. Well done. Sash, from our side now, we move on. Of course, we're going to go into heat number 3 of the semi-final 2 in these Zondas. Man, these Zondas have been pretty impressive in terms of their ability on track to give us great racing. But how's that for a point split so far? I mean, we're looking at one more heat to go, of course, and Leslie Oliphant has still got a chance of finishing up on full points as well. But we've got Jordan Sherritt on 50, Jason Absmeyer and Chris Langeveld on 47. An incredible drive coming out of Julian Familiaris in that last one to get up to 42. So he's third overall at this stage. Then we got Dievel Brummer 36, Ulrich Enselen 35, Devin Leisha 32, and Byron Mitchell on 30. So there are a couple other names that I haven't quite got to. I just played around with sort of the guys in the top end of the field to give us a little indication going into this third and final semi-final heat of the evening. But still a lot up for grabs, because that gives us 10 drivers. 10 drivers to play with, and we've still got another 10 to find for the top 20.
Yeah, Greg, I must say, this has been so much fun. You know, the 2 different vehicles that the guys are driving, 2 really, really fast heats that the guys having to race against, and some spectacular driving from all of the drivers. You know, you've got to have so much faith in the person who's in front of you or the person who's behind you, that you both know what racing is about. You know, this is not about brake testing each other. This is about real racing. And, you know, if somebody is faster than you, well, then they've got to come past you, but make it clean and fair. I mean, it's really, really been terrific to watch.
Right, so speaking of watching, we're going to be listening as well, because our final semi-finalist is going to join us. He's also had a little bit of experience when it comes to doing some live stream stuff, not in the sim world, but of course in karting. Carl Lawrence, it's good to have you here, bud. And I'm sure you've been sitting in the wayside, sitting going, keepers, these guys are just hogging my airtime. That's why we've got you on as soon as we can.
Oh, guys, I was going to say you're saving the best for last, but I just watched all of that, and I'm absolutely blown away by the talent of these guys coming through in this commentator search. And I honestly think this is a great initiative from yourself and from Sasha, giving us the opportunity to learn from guys like yourselves and be involved with guys like yourselves and hopefully build a career for us as motorsport commentators. I really am appreciative of it. Thank you, guys.
Carl, what a pleasure, and I must say, what a treat to have listened to your commentating skills from the demo that you did, and I'm glad you made it through and you joining us this evening. A little bit later than I think we had anticipated, but, well, we don't really have anywhere else to go.
Yeah, the only thing is you guys are cutting into my practice time for Sunfoot, but it's okay. I'll forgive it for now. I get to watch some good racing in the meantime, so I'm pretty stoked about that. I mean, it's been wonderful to see. You know, I've only just gotten into the sim world myself. I've only just got myself a rig and got into it in the last couple of weeks, and I really didn't expect the level of driver that there is in sim racing, and the level of respect and professionalism that's shown is beyond that I've ever seen. I mean, I've only played around in games, and these are not games. These are pure simulators. The driving aspects, the way the cars behave, everything is so top notch, and in fact, sometimes harder than what I've experienced in the real world.
The one thing I love about that comment, Carl, is to add to what you're saying. Yeah, the sims are so real. We were talking about how real these cars are, and a few comments flew out there between George, myself, and Sasha regarding the Zonda. And I think it was perfect timing. I don't quite know if Brendan was aware of it, but with me listening in and not having to commentate and listen to Sasha and George go at it about the incredible racing, and then start talking about the fact that the car had a radio available in it if you wanted one. And then the next thing, I think it was you and your missus and the little one were listening to Celine Dion's Greatest Hits, and it came through. It was brilliant. I apologize. It wasn't Carl. It was Brendan Marseille from EFX. And Emma Marseille was listening to Celine Dion. Great. But I thought it was actually
the deep end for no reason.
Music, hey?
Yes, yeah, I know, all the time, all day, every day. That's all I listen to. I actually put it in my helmet when I'm racing, just to keep me nice and calm. You know, I'm known as a crasher, so I need to keep the Celine Dion going just to keep me calm and relaxed and avoid the walls.
Well, Carl, you've worked with me on numerous occasions, and it's great to have you here, but I do appreciate the effort that you put in, and it was a great audition. And hopefully you live up to what you've just said, you know, keeping the best for last. What I want to do, though, is I'm going to let you and Sash handle. I'm going to jump in if I need to. And, of course, we've got cars lined up on the grid ready to go now for our third and final heat from semi-final 2. And let's have a quick squiz if we can, Brent, just at the list of drivers. Because that, I think, has just come through. Carl, I did WhatsApp it to you, so you've got the list and the car drivers that are in those cars. But, Sash, I think this is going to be an incredible event, this third and final one, and we've got some big players in this one.
Yeah, it's going to be another brilliant event. There we go. Valdo Sverkes, Jonathan Machotzi, Charles Verken, Anthony Gunham, Raymond Duggan, Chris Heidecke, Tian van Rooyen, Lyle Ramsey is not car number 8, car number 9, Yuri Swart, Wesley Ferranti, car number 10, then 11, Blake Kruger, 12, Arno Versace, Leslie Oliphant, 13, Lorenzo Gautieri, Zander Rutz, Robin Teings, Mark Henbury, Sean Hartz and Mitchell Lyson. We are just in our formation. Kyle getting ready for another start. I mean, the caliber of driving has been unbelievable, but there are some big players in the seat as we go racing.
Yeah, big names both from the sim world and the racing world, but it's going to be an interesting mix and an interesting mix of mindset. Some of the drivers are going to be pushing as hard as they can to get as many points as they can because of bad finishes in the previous semi, and guys looking just to keep their nose clean and keep scoring points and stay in there for the shot for the final.
100%. It's been a clean getaway from everybody. Lorenzo Gautieri got the long shot on Jonathan Machotsi, pulling out a rate of knots at the moment. And Arno Fasaki right on the back of Jonathan Machotsi. Then they got Leslie Oliphant right up there as well. Watch out for him. He's a man to watch. He's been superb this weekend. Charles Wilkin having clean races, the second behind Oliphant. Yuri Swart also 8/10. Everyone within the slipstream of everybody else here. This part of the circuit, Kyle, and the initial stages of the racing, I mean, what do? Do you put the hammer down, or you just try and get a rhythm?
Yeah, like I said previously, someone runs wide there into the wall. This grass is very another one. Two going off straight away. The circuit's so narrow. I think that is Mitchell Lyson, unfortunately, getting it wrong as he heads through there.
Yes.
Just grabbing a little bit too much and going off.
Yeah, there we go. Huge. And that is going to have a massive effect on Mitchell Lyson. I think he was top 5 in his first race here this evening. But he's going to drop down. Yeah, there we go. Arno Fasaki. Now we've got a different view. It looks like you're in one of those 6x6 Mercedes looking down on these Paganis at the moment. Arno Fasaki chasing down Jonathan Machotsi for second place. And this is a big, big scrap. But these guys are allowing Lorenzo Gautieri to get away.
Yeah, Fasaki putting massive pressure there on Machotsi. He's definitely got the pace to get past, but this track is so narrow. I mean, you can barely fit two of these Pagani side by side. And this is just allowing Oliphant to get closer and closer to them.
Yeah, very much so. Leslie Oliphant has really been one of our stars over the last 3 or 4 days. But even just looking behind there, we've got Fasaki, that's who we're on board with. But you've got Oliphant, Wilkin, Yuri Swart, Hembury, Ferrant, Duggan, Roots, and then Van Rooyen as well. So, one little mistake from one driver, and I tell you, this can all change drastically. Mitchell Lyson is dropped down to 19. Oh, are those his chances gone for being in the top 40?
Definitely going to be a hard ask to move his way back up the field. These guys in the front staying very smooth and very neat. Obviously, just trying to score as many points as possible. Don't want to put too much into the car, too much into the tires, and make too many mistakes. I mean, they're in good positions as they are. But Yuri Swart, quite quick. He finished 4th in his first race, so he'll be looking to move up and catch up to these 3.
I tell you, look at this. This is unbelievable. Arno Fasaki is there. Leslie Oliphant right behind him, and right in front of Fasaki is Machotsi. So I tell you, Fasaki doesn't know where to look at the moment. They are in the tricky part of the Nordschleife, and we're going to be waiting for them until they get into the long, long straights. Fasaki desperate to get a hold of Machotsi before they get into the long straights, because he knows he's got Leslie Oliphant right behind him.
Yeah, Sash, and just jumping in there quickly, Carl, if you don't mind. Watching this battle starting to rage here. Remember, Oliphant has already scored 25 points. So he's certainly looking to try and get ahead and get to the front. Making mistakes like that, though, is going to be costly. But going back to Mitchell Lyson down in 18th place, that'll only give him 2 points, which means that'll be added to what he got for second place in race number 1 this evening, and that'll give him 24. So he might be on the bubble at this point in terms of getting through to the top 20.
Yeah, he's definitely going to have to get his move on though and start making a couple of places to secure his spot there. It's going to be a hard ask, but Fasaki was a very uncomfortable meat in the sandwich for a while there, but it looks like Oliphant after that mistake losing ground on them as we just look at the other races to the field.
Yeah, a little bit of a problem there. We're on with Robbie Teens down in 13th place, and right behind him, I mean, he's got Ramsey, he's got Gannon, he's got Heineke, he's got Blake Kruger, and Mitchell Lyson. Mitchell Lyson was right in the back of Kruger and seemed to lose quite a lot of time as well. Mark Henbury's been a great superstar during the course of this event as well. He's the second behind Yuri Swart. He's got Wesley Ferrant right with him as well, but in a very, very solid 7th position. Could well get him into the top 20. Oh, look at that for a little bit of oversteer.
Yeah, he's not going to stay there for long if he keeps making mistakes like that, and Ferrant now getting hungry behind him. But he definitely has the best seat in the house when it comes to the battle starting to rage there between Wilkin and Umpi, as we just go back to Oliphant now, catching onto the back of Fasaki.
Yeah, there we go. Leslie Oliphant in 4th position over here. That's Charles Wilkin. He's dropped quite a long way behind, which is a bit surprising. Oliphant, Fasaki, that is the big battle at the moment. There is Leslie Oliphant right on the back of Arno Fasaki, and of course, just in front of them, that is Jonathan Machotsi.
Jonathan getting a nice little bit of breathing gap there on these two. If they keep fighting, you're going to keep pulling that gap. But nice time just to settle down, get into the lap, and make sure you get to the end of this green hull.
I tell you, it's incredible. Now we get into the long straight. Watch out for guys like Ampie Swart over here. Watch out for Henry. They could get the long shot. You already see Gunner make up position. Lyle Ramsey's dropped down. He's made a big mistake. He's dropping further down. Mitchell Lyson now up to 17th position. So Lyle Ramsey making a big mistake. Who can get the slipstream over here? Oh, dives down the inside. Looks like Mark Henry's diving down the inside of Ampie Swart. Ampie Swart and Sean Wilkin. Brilliant pass from Ampie Swart on Charles Wilkin.
Yeah, Umpi, no stranger to racing, coming out of the Polo Cup series as well. So he's used to wheel-to-wheel racing with those boys in real life. Pulling a great move there down the straight. But as we look into the aerial view, great shot here, guys. You must have paid an absolute fortune for these cameras.
Huge money. You cannot believe that. All our budget's gone onto our aerial cameras. Yeah, and you cannot believe what it costs to keep them up there for 6 events. But they're doing a great job. Fortunately, Carl, the fuel price has come down, so a little bit less expensive than we thought.
Yeah, the gas not too much on that hot balloon, I hope. But Henry now getting hungry on the back of Wilkin. They get through this tight section of the Nordschleife. The Nordschleife really it does put the test to all these drivers. But what's really brought this field close together is the lack of setup. So you don't get a setup specialist going out there and getting his car tuned into the right rhythm. As he goes up the inside here, not enough room there. It's going to be a tight move. I don't think he's made it stick.
Yeah, he didn't, but I tell you, he backed out of it in the right place. It could have been tears for both of them. But I tell you, Henry's there. He's got Ferrand right behind him, Duggan right behind him, and Roots right behind him. Then racing. Up front, we've got Cartier is looking pretty happy. But this is a terrific battle. Henry, Ferrand, Duggan, Roots, and of course, Charles Wilkin just in front of them as well. On board here with Mark Henry, looks on the inside, but decides against doing anything a little bit too rash. He's got Ferrand right behind him, but he's chasing down Charles Wilkin. He's really got to make a pass stick if he wants to do anything about Umpy in front of him. Now we're on board with Raymond Duggan. He's chasing down Ferrand. Ferrand lost a little bit of time to Mark Henry, but all of them, line astern, nothing between 6th and 11th position at the moment.
Yeah, we haven't seen many of these groups out in other races. No, it's nice to see a lot of cars grouped together. We didn't see this a lot in the other races, but we did see the breakaway leader, which has unfortunately happened again. But this is definitely going to be a battle to watch, as there's just another lap to go.
Yeah, I tell you, this is really nail-biting stuff. Everyone just pressurizing each other, and everyone should really try their best not to make a mistake. We're on board with Leslie Willifant, right on the back of Versace again. Let's see if Willifant can do anything about it. Hard on the brakes, the mini carousel. Then, careful on that throttle. You just don't want to get it too sideways. Really kick the backside out of that Pagani Zonda R. But chasing down Versace as they go into one of the hairpins on the Nordschleife.
Yeah, for the spectators at home, it's difficult to understand that this is more than just a game. The undulations, the bumps, they spend so much time and so much money on getting these circuits 100% right. And the way these cars behave over the bumps and the curves and the grass, so close to real life, and it's so easy to get it wrong. One little step too wide, one little too early on the gas, and you're either facing the wrong direction or eating the honker.
Oh, very much so. I mean, this is as real as you can get it. Got a change down in 16th place Swicker. Ramsey's just got ahead of Swicker, but we're holding on to this race at the moment. Ferrand's lost a bit of time to Henry with Duggan all over the back of Ferrand. Still, really fun. Can't do anything about Versace, and Henry on the back of Wilkin as well. So I think the long straight is where it's going to happen again here, Carl.
Yeah, a lot of slipstream effect from these cars, a lot of downforce on these cars. So the car in front is going to be the sore loser here when it comes to braking the clean air. So these guys are going to be getting a lot of slipstream and a lot of moves going to be able to get done at the end of the long straight. But just a quick one on Mitchell Lyson. He's managed to pull in a second on Heineken in front of him. So another mistake there as they go to the carousel. A tricky bit of the circuit, probably the hardest part of the circuit for Willifant.
That's a huge mistake from Willifant, and he's lost all of that time. He was chasing Versace. Now he's jumping right up to Willifant, and I mean he's lost 2 seconds to Versace. He was right on the back of him. I don't know if he was forced into a mistake there, but definitely cost him. And Happy Swart might have a great chance down the long straight over here. So, man, you've got to keep your concentration. Here we are with Embry on the back of Wilkin as well. Right behind there for Ranton Duggan. Man, I can't wait for them to go to the long straight.
I can't believe these guys are able to follow each other so close together. I mean, they are in the sim world. They are sitting in sim seats. There's no bum field. All they've got is the direct drive steering wheels in front of them, and that's the end of it. So I can't believe they're able to follow each other so close behind as they head through another tight section of the Nordschleife just before we head on to one of the longer straights in the circuit.
Yeah, I tell you, that's a great point there, Guy. You're just sitting at home and you're driving against your screen, and you just got to have full concentration. It really is an incredible ability by all of these sim racers.
Yeah, what's really affected me is how these cars actually change during their race. So they've got the tire dynamics so well tuned in on games like this, or simulators like this, I should say. I shouldn't really call it a game. They get the dynamics so close. You actually feel the car start to go away from you throughout the race, and you've got to be mindful of that going into every single corner.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you consider all of the variables of racing. We're on board with our leader at the moment, Lorenzo Galtieri's had a superb weekend so far. 4 seconds ahead of Jonathan Machotzi. He'll be very, very happy with that. Versace is in a 4th place. Oh, Umpy was right on the back of Willie, but seemed to have lost quite a bit of time, and now they into the long straight. Watch out for Henbury. Watch out for Florent. Those two are going to be really, really pushing onto the back of Charles Wilkin as they come into the long straight. The man who's got the best chance over here, Henbury. Which side is he going to try? Well, there we go. Moving from side to side in front of him, Charles Wilkin. Goes to the left-hand side. Now he goes to the right-hand side, trying to break the toe from Mark Henry.
Yeah, unfortunately, Henry would have been a lot closer if he didn't grab so much curb onto the straight. But he's definitely within sniffing distance now. Is he going to pull the dummy to the left and go right? No, it just lifts off slightly. Next corner is going to be a left-hander, so he's going to be trying to set himself up for the tight right-hander here. Unable to get close enough and get it done, but it's going to be difficult not to make a mistake onto the brakes. So they're so close together. We saw it in the last race. They actually a couple of guys ran into the back of each other. So it's getting nice and tight, and actually it looks like Wilkin has been clever enough to back them all up into the chasing pack of Ferrant and Duggan.
You know, I must say, I think Henry maybe thought, especially the better part of Bala, let me take my 7th position. Maybe that gives me enough points, because he seemed to have really been in the slipstream there of Charles Wilkin. I think he could have taken him, but decided to back off quite a lot. But as you said, Carl, also very, very difficult to take, even though it's after that long straight. You know, you go to a very, very tight left-hander.
Yeah, I think just a little bit of caution there shown. Make sure, take your 7th place, take your points, get yourself into the final. But I'm amazed by the fact that all 5 of those cars could follow so closely together and have such a great race. It's insane to watch. It's better than watching real thing.
And I have to agree, Carl. There's a certain factor that gets brought into sim racing as well, with the camera angles we can play with, the visuals that we're able to put out there, and the entertainment that comes from that. I mean, you and I both know that at karting, there might be 1 or possibly 2 actual cameramen at a kart circuit, and the others are all still GoPros or onboard GoPros that are being used by the drivers. So it makes it very difficult to tell the story and to get all the action. When you have the ability, like our EFX team has here, to call on over 200 cameras to play with throughout an event like this, it just brings that whole element of entertainment to another level.
No, you guys really have, in terms of the production level of what you guys are doing, it's up there with anything internationally. It's probably the best I've seen over the last couple of weeks. I've been watching a lot of events and a lot of racing, and it really is top-notch quality. The producer's doing a great job, so I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah,
appreciate that. That's definitely. Anyway, just have a look at some points, Sash.
Really hard.
With the way things finished up, Jordan Sherrod is the only one who came out with top honours in both of the heats he raced in tonight. So he finishes on 50 points. The Diablo Brum on 36. We've got Ulrich Ensign on 35. A good drive in that last one coming out of Yuri Swart has moved him into contention with Devin Leacher on 32. And then you've got 30 points there possibly for Jonathan Machotzi, I think, and also for Byron Mitchell. So the biggest loser there, unfortunately, was Mitchell Lyson. And I know that Richard Raymond in the background now is probably working frantically to give us the actual points. Those are provisional points worked out in my head while I was watching you guys and adding up as we've gone through all 6 seats tonight. But I think I might be right in saying that you had to be within the sort of 27 to 50 mark to be in the top 20, Sash, and we'll wait and see if that's actually going to be the case.
Yeah, very much so. I think, that 25, 27 points is where you really needed to be top 20. And I think Mitchell Lyson with, unfortunately, a really, really difficult second semi-final. He might squeeze in, he might just be out. I think he'll make it into the top 40, but he won't be in the grand final, unfortunately.
Yeah, he must be kicking himself for the mistake like that and throwing it away.
Just before you go, I know there's a lot of support for you as well, and I've got to say, Jean-Dre Leroux, Shan Lopesha, Hannes van Sale, all these guys are throwing out some love via the social media to you guys. But of course, it's now up to you, bud. You've got to go and look at the posts that we put out on Solidarity E-Race's Facebook page and get all of your entourage to like, share, and comment on it so that we can make our lives and make a decision tomorrow morning and hopefully give you that phone call.
Yeah, I'm lucky for myself. My biggest fan, my mother's watching, so I'm sure she's put it out everywhere, and everybody's already done the work and seen it. So I don't think I have that much work to do when I get off here. So, guys, like I said, it's an amazing opportunity to be here. Amazing experience, and I've really enjoyed it. I must thank you and Sasha for the opportunity.
Carl, I'm so glad I'm not the only person in the world whose mother is their favorite fan.
Aren't they all?
I think it's every son. Carl, all the very best. Good luck, buddy. And if we don't get to see you tomorrow night, thank you so much for being part of this and being such a great sport and bringing in the experience you've had doing work with the likes of EFX Productions, our production crew, and with the likes, of course, of the karting fraternity. We wish you all the best for your team and all the drivers that look up to you to look after them and get them through the season, hopefully, when we get out of lockdown.
Thanks, guys. Thank you again, and thank you to all the sponsors for putting this together. I'm looking forward to getting back on circuit, but right now I'm going to jump onto Kart Racing Pro and do some online driver training. And hopefully you won't see me maybe, but I'll definitely be watching you guys tomorrow night. Cheers for now.
Yeah, there we go. Carl, thank you very much. What a pleasure to have you on board. Real privilege to commentate with you.
Carl Lawrence there, of course, our sixth and final semi-finalist for tonight's proceedings today. I think just to wrap things up there, Sash, in terms of the commentator search, now it's up to them to go and do the hard work. They've done the easy work in terms of the voiceover and the audition. And then from there, it's basically to go and try and get as much traction on social media from this point, and of course from the point that they left us this evening, to about 11:30 tomorrow morning.
Yeah, very much so, Greg. I think the social media side and the engagement side, yes, I think that's a tremendous amount of fun. But we have to listen to actually what the 6 different guys actually contributed to the actual commentary, and from there, I think it's pretty easy to decide from there.
I think the other exciting aspect of what we saw here tonight, Sash, is the fact that we had an array, literally starting from an 11-year-old, going through guys who've had experience, guys who've had international experience, guys who've just started and said, listen, let me have a go at it and see if I can do it. Those are the kind of guys that we're hoping to sort of get excited about what we do and build a potential new face or new voice to motorsport commentary, whether it be in the sim world or in the real world, because there's a lot less than what people think.
100%, Greg, and that's where the gems come out of. If you don't try, you'll never know, and the worst that anybody can ever say to you is no. So why not give it a bash? And if you don't make it, try again. It's not the end of the world. Don't give up if you don't make it through this time.
I think I have to agree with you, Sash. I mean, how many times in your career did you go out for a DJ gig and never got the call back to say, listen, we'll have you again? But then, of course, you've turned into one of SA's finest and probably the world's finest when you were at your prime doing the gigs that you used to do. And on a similar basis, I have to say, probably from my side, speaking about the story and how we all started this and getting into a commentary booth for the first time with a piece of paper and 8 production cars, all white, it's not the easiest thing to do in the world. And I think a lot of people don't realize what it takes to do what we do.
It's that simple. The worst that anybody can say to you is no, and the worst that can ever happen in your life is you fail. How bad can it really be?
And as long as you learn from the failure and you get back up again, I think that's the important lesson to take it here. That is for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
We
And
had some
sometimes you have to, you have to bump your head a few times along the way. I don't think anybody's had just an easy ride. So, it's good to bump your head, and it's also good to be, shouted down at times, and for you to get some healthy perspective of what you're actually doing and what you want to try and achieve.
And of course, when things go wrong, like they do and like they can do on occasions, not to do anything with the production that we put together, but when technical issues come in or glitches come in, or as we mentioned in some of the races where you've got a thunderstorm and you've got a pad for 4 hours behind a safety car, that's all part and parcel of the job. So the guys that had that opportunity and that experience tonight can't say that they haven't had, a race commentary experience. They've had a learning curve experience where they have to deal with what we deal with all the time when things go right, and of course what you've got to do when things go a little bit AWY.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of times where things are actually going on behind the scenes where it's going completely haywire, and yet you're managing to still come on and produce something where nobody even knows what's going on. But these things happen, and I think that's the human element of what live sport is about. But live television, live online broadcasting is all about. And never ever forget that we are just all humans, and we do make mistakes, whether it's technical, whether it's commentary, whether it's racing or whatever. I mean, goodness, how boring would the world be if everything that came out of our mouths was perfect?
Exactly, and we get those technical terms like bugger up, I think was the one tonight, Sash?
Yeah, exactly.
That's not the worst, I can tell you. That's not the worst. There's been a couple of times where it's gotten a little bit out of shape, and I'm sure there's a couple that you've had as well, where you've had to sort of hit the brakes and go, "Did I really just say that?"
Oh no, believe you me, I have.
All right, Sash, I've got the points in front of me. I don't know if
Yes.
Brennan's been able to grab them, but we do have a provisional points. Remember, this is provisional that's going to be given to us, and as soon as we get that up on the board, we can then run through potentially our top 20 and 21st to 40th, and that's what I'm hoping we're going to be able to pull up on the screen. It might have to be done in 2 different slides, but we'll have a look and see. But needless to say, the idea tonight was to get as many points in the bag to get you into that top 20 for the grand final tomorrow night. There's a chance tomorrow night, Sash, to run through it one more time while we're waiting for Brennan to take us onto those slides. We're going to be starting at 6:30, so everybody knows that we are on at 6:30. But as I said, the prize money up for grabs tomorrow night includes 2,000 Rand for the plate final, 1,000 Rand for second place, and 500 Rand for third. And then, of course, we are going to announce the official winner who gets 3,000 Rand for the commentator search. But in the big one, the grand final, we've got 12,000 Rand for first place and a gigs fiber line and router for a year, courtesy of AfriHost. Second place gets 7,000 Rand, beg your pardon, and a Seagate Fire CUDA drive, which is worth 3,500 Rand. So that's a 10.5 grand second prize, 3.5 grand third prize. The top finishing gamer gets, of course, the Volkswagen Motorsport Academy entry. Jordan Shirt's already taken the hot lap qualifier, $1,000. We got a driver of the day competition for tomorrow, which we're going to be watching relatively, and it can come out of either the plate final or the main final. And they will also be getting a 300 gig upline and router courtesy of AfriHost, which is worth about 20 grand as well. So there's big prizes up for grabs for tomorrow night.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's fantastic to have these kind of prizes, the caliber of prizes, the quality of prizes from our wonderful sponsors. It really is, it keeps us going, which is important. But I think it's also, justified reward for these drivers who maybe have just had recognition from their mates in the past. And now it's slowly developing into something quite a lot bigger. And hopefully a lot of these names become household names in the future.
Well, I can tell you, if we look at the points right there, Sash, we are getting the top 19. That is absolutely brilliant stuff. And, of course, just out of shot, hopefully Brent can just squeeze it in there. Yeah, Devin Piazzamusso, he gets in on the 20th spot.
Sure.
So the top 20 is made up of Jordan Shirt, Jason Abdmeyer, Christopher Langerfeld, Leslie Oliphant, Julian Familiaris, Rob Whiting, Lorenzo Gotteri, Adrian Wood, Dierwald Brummer, Ulrich Enslin, Charles Wilkin, Anu Fasaki, Yuri Swart, Jonathan Mafutsi, Mark van Rensburg, Devin Leisha, Elton Bowe, Byron Mitchell, Raymond Duggan, and Devin Piazzamusso. If I say the usual suspects in the Solidarity E-race, I think we might be spot on there. The only one that I was a bit concerned about is there in 21st place, just missing out, Wesley Farrant.
Yeah, I mean, Greg, that's why. I mean, it was crucial for everybody to ensure that you have a clean race. It was about points. And I mean, man, coming 21st, yes, you're in a plate final, but it's not exactly the best place to finish up. However, at least he's in a final.
He is. He will be at the front end of that plate final tomorrow with Mitchell Lyson, Mark Henbury, Rian Tillison, Anthony Garnham, Corne Briet, Brandon Kruger, Eli Vergara, Xander Ruetz, Robbie Teams, Travis Faree, Nico Nicolaisen, Blake Kruger, Peter Geldenhuys, Brett Lindsay Ray, Ian Upton, Dwayne Fasaki, or Van Skalkwyk, Tian van Rooyen, Daniel Rowe, and Noah Hendricks. That is 21st to 40th place, and that is your plate final for tomorrow night.
Yeah, I mean, that's just amazing. Well done to well done to all of our competitors here this evening. And those who didn't make it into the top 60, top 40, unfortunate, but you did a fantastic job and you should be very, very proud of yourselves. But I mean, Greg, we got two incredible finals to look forward to tomorrow evening, and in a vehicle that is going to be mental around the Nordschleifer as well.
Yeah, over 900 horsepower to play with tomorrow in the P1 McLaren. Oh, man, we're going to be in for an epic battle. And, of course, we will be announcing tomorrow morning the winner of the competition tonight. I've got a couple of guys who are sending me messages, of course, and saying that maybe we should be looking at it. But the whole idea is to create traction and feet and, of course, traffic towards the Solidarity E-Race page, which is why we've created the posts onto that page, so that the guys can then go and vote for their favorite commentator on that page and like and share the post as well. Beg your pardon. And then from there, we will be announcing that tomorrow, and they will come and join us for the plate final tomorrow evening here at the Nordschleifer.
Yeah, which is going to be terrific. And well done to all 6 of our commentators who joined us this evening. It was great fun having them with us, and I think they all did a sterling job.
Well, from my side, Sash, once again, a phenomenal job you did for jumping in there and helping the team of semi-finalists get through to this evening. A couple of guys had some issues to deal with, but they dealt with them. We wish all 6 of them the very best. And a reminder to all of our viewers, please go on to Solidarity E-Race's page on Facebook. Find each of your favorite commentators' post themselves and vote on that post. It's on Solidarity E-Race. It's not on pages, but the one you need to comment on is on Solidarity E-Race's page.
Yeah, go and do it now. And of course, looking forward to hearing the results tomorrow evening.
And also a massive thank you going out to Holden Jones, Neil Marks, Tim Patterson, our stand-in steward there, and to Richard Raymond for helping us out this evening. There was a big shuffle that had to happen in that mid part of the racing there to get the service back up. And once again, handled admirably and an incredible job from the technical team behind us to get the results up that quickly, Seth.
Yeah, well, I must say that's way above my pay grade. I wouldn't have known what to do. I would have just sat there and said, well, there we go. I hope you enjoyed the racing. Take care. Ciao, ciao.
Take care then. Exactly. So, yeah, well done, guys.
Well done.
And I think looking forward to tomorrow night now, Sasha. We've got 2 big finals to sort out. Remember, as we said, folks, 6:30 we go on air. 7 o'clock is the plate final. About 8 o'clock will be the grand final. We've got a little bit of PR to get through tomorrow night, and of course, prize-giving ceremonies and some interviews with the top drivers and the winner of the Volkswagen Driver Academy. They will be interviewed after each of the heats. So look forward to all that action and come and join us tomorrow night here at Solidarity E-Race. Final word from you, Sasha Martinengo.
Yeah, listen, congratulations to everybody. Thanks so much for joining us this evening. We hope you enjoyed the racing as much as we did. We know it has been a long evening, but it's been worth it. And, wow, I can't wait for tomorrow, Greg.
Thank you very much, Sash. And once again, an incredible job from your side. On behalf of Sasha Martinengo and myself, Greg Maloney, the voice of choice, we'll see you all tomorrow night for the final bit of action here from the Seagate Gaming Solidarity E-Race in association with all of our partners. The Nordschleifer affair comes to a conclusion tomorrow night. Take care then. Bye-bye now.